Chapter 1535 The Grand Escape. I figure there were others, Wang Wei said. I'm guessing their purpose for existing is the same as mine. I've always had one purpose, Hong Jun said, to protect this world. Pangu took advantage of the crack to utilize a bit of the power of Hongmeng to cast a protective barrier around the prehistoric. The barrier has severely limited Grand Dao's intervention into our worlds. Hong Jun sighed. Gautama's action showed us hope, but it also weakened the barrier. Grand Dao realized that the spread of Buddhism, or adapting ideas from the prehistoric world, was the best way to assimilate our world and remove the barriers. I knew it was only a matter of time before the protection period would end, and we would be in danger. However, I also thought I had more time. I knew sending these people through the barrier would accelerate things as they share ideas from Earth. However, you were beyond my calculation. Hong Jun looked Wang Wei in the eyes. Do you know that besides you, 2 other people miraculously survived after entering the void? Wang Wei squinted. Other fate seeds. That's right. These people were lucky to swallow 2 pieces of world source to sustain their soul before miraculously being sucked into the nearby worlds for reincarnation. According to Grand Dao's script, this was supposed to be your fate. However, you diverted from your destiny when you chose to rely on yourself to survive. Hong Jun smiled gently. When I saw you, I was shocked and awed, but also terrified. I planned for 3 people to reincarnate and return to the prehistoric world to protect the world. The other 3 were chosen by Grand Dao to compete with other fate seeds for the cardinal position. I saw your potential and knew I could not allow someone like you to become Grand Dao's lackey. Your first instinct was probably to eliminate me, Wang Wei said. It was, Hong Jun admitted. Then, why didn't you? You're a diviner, so you should understand that the best and worst things for us are unknown or unpredictable variables. I figure I should observe first. The worst that could happen is you die an untimely death, and if possible, I can guide you to be a variable on our side. Then, as I watched your actions and knew what kind of person you were, I decided to gamble. Wang Wei nodded. He now understood Hong Jun's mindset and why he helped him during his time as the Myriad Devourer. With 5 people from Earth spreading ideas, the destruction of the prehistoric barrier accelerated. But it was nothing compared to you. Your existence destroyed all the calculations and predictions I made, Hong Jun said. Regretting your gamble? Wang Wei asked. It's too early to say, Hong Jun smiled. However, my intuition tells me I have made the right choice. A cultivator should trust their senses. Wang Wei nodded. He thought briefly about everything Hong Jun said. To clarify, the thing you want me to protect at all costs is the prehistoric world? Hong Jun nodded. I know people like you are intrinsically paranoid, so I'll lay everything on the table. My path is similar to Supreme Unity, except more complete. I condense my soul quintessence by linking with Heavenly Tao, and unfortunately, my connection is even deeper than Supreme Unity. If something happens to this world, I will not survive. I understand, Wang Wei said. He did not completely trust or believe Hong Jun's words. There must be many things the latter is hiding, but for now, it appears his task is only to protect this world. This place is also my home, so I have no issue fulfilling my oath. However, you should understand that I cannot do that alone. Don't worry, the other 3 have the same oath as you. When the time comes, you can work together, Hong Jun reassured. No problem, Wang Wei nodded. But is that it? I have a feeling that this is not the end of this conversation. As astute as ever. However, the next conversation does not have anything related to me, Hong Jun said. Don't say that. You couldn't have facilitated the world collision or other plans with us? Said a booming voice. You can't sell us out now, said a captivating male voice. Wang Wei saw 2 people appear in the room. The first one was an old man with white hair and a thick white beard, dressed in all white, with his eyes naturally glowing. He radiated holiness, divinity, and nobility, and he was the one with the booming voice. The second one was a middle-aged black man dressed in African garments with the design of a spider. The man was slightly handsome, but the mischievous look in his eyes distracted from his handsome features. As soon as Wang Wei saw this man, He felt he was a cunning bastard that he should be careful against. Yahweh and Anansi, Hongjun introduced. As I said before, he's not a part of the plan, so you need to negotiate with him on your own. Wang Wei frowned. He recognized the name Yahweh, but it took him some time to remember Anansi, the Western African god of story, wisdom, knowledge, and trickery. He only remembered it because he once read an online novel that mentioned it. In hindsight, that novel treated him poorly and was probably racist. Lord Yahweh, Lord Anansi. He stood up to bow. No need for the pleasantries, Yahweh said before two cushions appeared next to Hongjun. Wang Wei then returned to his sitting position. He observed these two soul quintessence powerhouses, focusing on Yahweh first. A path of faith? But why is the aura weird? He thought. He did not dare stare for too long before observing Anansi. His aura is familiar. Could it be? Not faith, Yahweh suddenly said. It's the power of myth. I spread my legion through the universe to condense a mythical self before fusing with it. The myth you used must be outlandish and would require an extraordinary amount of faith to condense into reality, Wang Wei analyzed. Wait. It's rude to read people's minds. I didn't read your mind. I don't need to read your mind to know what you're thinking. A form of nigh omnipotence? Interesting, Wang Wei muttered. And you should have used the quantum realm to achieve soul quintessence. Human wisdom is a marvelous thing, Anansi said. After discovering the quantum realm, I spent years studying it and encouraging its development. Then, I created a method to turn my soul into a state similar to quantum entanglement. My soul existed and did not exist. It existed in the future and the past. It was corporeal and incorporeal. This idea sounds like a yin-yang approach to the universe soul quintessence that we created, Wang Wei analyzed. There was a saying that all paths lead to the same destination. Another saying said that the end of science is theology, and Anansi was the proof of this saying. Hongjun said you had something to negotiate with me, Wang Wei asked, not hiding his intrigue. You know what Hongjun wants. Can you guess what we are after? Anansi asked. Why are you wasting time? Yahweh asked. You've heard the news about Tao overlords. Aren't you interested? Not really. Well, consider this, Anansi said. We need to know whether he's truly capable of helping us. You have a point, Yahweh nodded. He looked intently at Wang Wei, awaiting his answer. Wang Wei's lips twitched. He exhaled before entering deduction mode. Can I assume you two are not restricted like Lord Hongjun, and your priority is not the protection of the prehistoric? That's a fair assumption, Anansi nodded. Let me think. People on your level only want to go higher, but this world must be restricting your progress. There is a slight possibility that Grand Tao allows people of my race and ethnicity to leave the prehistoric world in the future, but the chances of it doing the same for all races of Earth are slim. So, if I were in your case, the only way forward would be to escape. You want me to make another hole into the chaos universe so you can enter Hongmeng and continue cultivating in other chaos universes. I guess it wasn't all bragging, Yahweh said. You guys must be mad, Wang Wei said. Even if he had this kind of strength, why would he put a target on his back? He had already known Panga's path was a dead end, so why would he repeat it? Calm down, Anansi said with the soothing voice of a storyteller. Your thinking is too extreme. Too extreme? Oh, right. I may not need to make a hole in reality for you guys to escape. Maybe there are other ways to leave the chaos universe without damaging it. However, such an approach will probably be more complicated. Everything was possible, meaning there might be something he doesn't know. Now you're getting the full picture. Anansi nodded. Wang Wei frowned. This idea is sound on paper, but there are many problems he can think of. Can you guys even survive in Hongmeng? According to our calculations, the minimum requirement to survive is our realm, Yahweh replied. That's good to hear. Do you have any leads for an exit? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1536 The second condition, no, but we know there is an exit. Wang Wei looked at Anansi with a look that said, Are you kidding me? We've been stuck here, with access to limited information, Yahweh complained. True, Wang Wei nodded. If you think about it logically, you'll know there must be an exit. Wang Wei squinted. Grand Dao should have learned of Hongmeng after the observer's transcendence. Even if she controlled herself, she must have been curious after the whole. It's very likely she sent an expedition to learn more, and that's only if she's not aware of her existence in relation to Hongmeng itself. Exactly, Anansi nodded. Since she can leave, you can do the same. We only need you to send us, or even a piece of ourselves, out. Well, color me intrigued, Wang Wei said as he stared at them directly. I don't mind helping you, but what can I get for my service? We will offer you our soul quintessence method, Yahweh said. I already have a method that is perfectly suited for me, so yours will only be icing to the cake, Wang Wei said. His words made everyone slightly surprised. They would not be surprised if he had said he had an idea for the way forward. These three expected as much from the people reincarnated from the modern era. However, it was something else to have a completed method. We have also done numerous attempts and calculations for a flesh quintessence method. Well, add all the information, Anansi added. Now we're talking. However, it's still not enough given what's at stake. It's apparent that you have something on your mind. Why don't you tell us your condition? Yahweh asked. On top of your previous offer, I have 2 conditions. Yahweh was speechless at this brat's greed, while Anansi only smiled. However, no one knew what he was thinking under that approaching visage. Go ahead. You are the god of knowledge, and you have nigh omnipotence ability, or something similar, Wang Wei uttered. In other words, the knowledge you two possessed is unparalleled. I want all of it. Wang Wei had to think of his future wife. Her path was all about knowledge, so he wanted something for her. Of course, he'll also benefit immensely. Unfortunately, that's not possible, at least not now, Anansi replied. Why? The method we were offering you was protected by a special method, Yahweh explained. However, if we were to offer you all our knowledge, your fate would be the same as your science and technology world. Yes, that pest Grand Dao would not allow me to leave here with such powerful knowledge. Wang Wei nodded. Unless I can protect it like you do. But you're currently too weak to do such a thing. Anansi finished his thought. I still want this condition, but you can pay when I'm strong enough, Wang Wei compromised. That's fine by us. What's the second condition? Wang Wei became serious. Is this place protected? Don't worry. Even Grand Dao cannot spy in this place, Hongjun reassured. He had used Pangus' remaining power to protect his Purple Heaven Palace. Good. But before I say my condition, I want a binding existence contract that you guys won't overreact. Are you serious? No, you seemed serious, Yahweh said. And you only want us not to overreact? Yes, and that goes to you as well, Lord Hongjun. Me too? Well, it seems things are getting interesting, Hongjun smiled before condensing the contract. It was simple since Wang Wei only wanted them to listen to him and not attack. After everyone signed, he did not utter his condition out loud, but sent it into their mind through divine sense. Their expressions changed. All three accidentally revealed their aura, which almost crushed Wang Wei's projection. In fact, if not for the protection of Hongjun's Purple Heaven Palace, the aura would have leaked, causing chaos to the entire prehistoric world. Yahweh said. That is a taboo topic for us, Anansi said with an unpleasant face. Those are my terms. Accept or no deal, Wang Wei said calmly. Hongjun summoned a pot of tea and sipped it to calm down. Sometimes, being too smart is not a good thing, he warned. I'm well aware of the burden of knowledge, Wang Wei replied. You know that we might not be able to convince them, Anansi said. Are you really entertaining this? Yahweh asked. Some things have to be faced sooner or later, Anansi sighed. I understand this, Wang Wei said. As long as you try. The three groaned simultaneously. Fine. Anansi was the first to relent. However, the other had reservations. Once we escape, we'll have to confront this uncomfortable truth, Anansi persuaded. Hongjun can wait until he transcends, but he also cannot escape. Might as well try to help him. Maybe he will introduce a new variable. All right. Yahweh resigned to his fate, and Hongjun only nodded. Good. Let's have it in writing. Wang Wei smiled. Hongjun condensed the contract, and Wang Wei read it. I immediately frowned. I want everybody's help, not just you three. You're going too far, Yahweh snapped. How much help can the three of you be? Plus, there is no guarantee that you have more influence than them. Wang Wei's request had a significant impact. In fact, even he was not too sure to what extent. The idea came into his mind, and his intuition told him it was extremely important, maybe even more important than his true transcendent path. We can't force others to sign such a contract? Anansi argued. Can you honestly say you're the only one escaping? You won't bring other people with you? Wang Wei sneered. Since they can benefit from my action, they can take the time to help me. Anansi and Yahweh looked at each other, communicating through their minds. Fine, you win. They sent the contract out to numerous people. From Hongjun's disciples, their descendants, and close friends, to Anansi and Yahweh's pantheon, to other powerful entities with origin or connection to Earth. Everyone received the contract. They all had the same initial reaction as the three before signing the contract with gritted teeth. However, most of these people deleted or sealed their memories of this encounter to deal with the existential crisis. Wang Wei received a contract with hundreds of names, all of whom are big shots from mythology, stories, or religions. He clicked his tongue in wonder before signing his name. Even as a projection, the process was binding since it was tied to his existence. Pleasure to do business with all of you, Wang Wei said as he reached out for a handshake, but everyone gave him a side eye. No need to be mean, he uttered. Yahweh snorted coldly before teleporting away, leaving a talisman glowing with golden light. Anansi sighed, usually on the other side, looking at the aggrieved individuals. He shook his head before teleporting away, also leaving a talisman. Wang Wei smiled sheepishly before taking the talismans and absorbing the information. He immediately had a terrible headache. The pain was so intense, and it was unlike anything he had faced before. How petty, he muttered with a slight groan. He now had 2 more soul quintessence methods in his mind, along with enough knowledge to raise his flesh quintessence method to 60%. Wang Chong will love this information, Wang Wei thought. He did not know whether the latter had finished his retreat, but with this information, he expected him to return immediately. Do you want to see your parents now? Hongjun asked. Lord Hongjun, even you no longer welcome me, Wang Wei sighed in an aggrieved voice. He could feel the latter's hint that he should leave. However, he had many questions he still wanted to ask. Hongjun's mouth twitched. He was so glad he rejected the idea of accepting this bastard as his disciple. This kind of cause and effect was not something his short life could bear. Is that a no? Hongjun asked. Now is not the time to meet them, Wang Wei admitted truthfully. His soul quintessence method requires him to condense his past self, and this will be the ideal time to meet his parents. In that case, wait, Wang Wei said. How about you share your transcendent method? You see, although supreme unity is sealed, he is still a problem. Maybe I can find a way to deal with him after learning from your superior method. Hongjun stared at him. This kid's shamelessness surpassed his disciple, Zhuanti. All right, how about we exchange? I'll use a flawed method for yours. Why not use a complete one? My method is universal, meaning it's more valuable than yours. Mine is also universal, but you need a source chaos world, Wang Wei argued. Anyone can cultivate mine without any stringent requirements. I doubt yours don't have any strict requirements. You only need some achievement in Time Dao. Hongjun chuckled while staring at him. All right, you win. But, let me ask you a question. Does your method also use the 3 corpses technique? It's the essence of the technique, Hongjun admitted. Good. We can trade, Wang Wei said. The idea of dividing 3 corpses, good, evil, and obsession, fit perfectly for his 3 selves, past, present, and future. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1537. A peak of the highest level. Hongjuan calmly watched Wang Wei's projection disappear. He continued drinking his tea while in deep thought. Today's event was clear in his mind. This was not what was supposed to go, Anansi said as he reappeared in the room. That kid is dangerous, Yahweh said. Are you sure we can rely on him? He did not fully believe in the existence contract. After seeing what Wang Wei was capable of, he would not be surprised if the latter found a loophole. Do we have another choice? Anansi said. Ying Zhang was a disappointment, and the other three, despite being years ahead of him, Wang Wei has nearly caught up to them. More importantly, it's the all-heaven fate calamity. Anansi looked at Hongjun. Do you think it's him? If it were before, I was only 50 to 60% sure. But now, it's more than 70 to 80%. Is that so? Anansi muttered, thinking of the implication. It may be good news for us that he is the aggressor. It also meant we have no choice but to pick his sides or we're screwed, Yahweh added. Grand Dao is already set on eliminating them, so if they choose Wang Wei's side, they have no place left for them in this infinite chaos universe. We don't have a choice, but they still do, Anansi said, looking at Hongjun. I would be foolish to betray him and choose Grand Dao's side, Hongjun said calmly, not happy with the latter's insinuation. You may feel that way now, but that doesn't mean you won't change in the future, Anansi sneered. Or that others might have the same sentiment, Yahweh added. I can't control what others do, Hongjun shrugged. You're not taking this seriously. If the day comes and Grand Dao tries to lure you into her side, a civil war will start, Anansi warned. Other race powerhouses cannot leave the prehistoric world, meaning they will have no choice but to choose the Mad Emperor in the prophecy. Hongjun frowned, thinking deeply about these words. Then, let's start preparing. They need to avoid a civil war at any cost, so it's best to prepare now. Although the choice will not be an issue for a while, it's best to start acting now. Hongmeng. Wang Wei opened his eyes and looked at the chaos universe. Then, he started laughing out loud. I have to give credit to myself. I can't believe he figured it out on his own, with so little information, Wu Hong said. This version of yourself is indeed the best so far. Indeed, but he's still a little naive. Let's help him, Wang Wei said as he snapped his finger, supplementing the idea that Wang Wei had when he was asking for his second condition. You're going to pay for that, Wu Hong said. It's worth it. Wang Wei smiled. Do you think they will help us? Wu Hong asked. She was worried they would stop the plan instead of helping. Why not? These people are as ambitious as we are. They've been searching for a way forward even longer than we have. Now, they have a guinea pig to show the way forward. Why wouldn't they help? Wang Wei smiled. Maybe, Wu Hong muttered. Is something wrong? Are you sure about this plan? You are doubting things now, Wang Wei said with a wry smile. I'm not doubting it, but I just think we could be more conservative. You could try the 8th transition first before proceeding with the 9th transition. Wang Wei was quiet. He understood her worries. If his plan works, he will achieve 2 transitions together, immediately reaching the level of the 5 Supremes. However, this plan is risky. Wang Wei sighed. We've discussed this before and I have already set things in motion. It's too late to have regrets or worries. Anyway, the worst that will happen is I will be sealed for a while and you'll be alone. I don't like how nonchalant you are about the consequences. If you are sealed, our family will lose face, and I will be alone for a long time, Wu Hong complained. At their level, with death being a non-factor, reputation and face have somehow become the key factors in maintaining the hierarchy. Why would I care about face? Wang Wei always found it baffling why these transcendent entities cared so much about such a trivial thing. In the end, he chucked it to the fact that it is their way of preserving their humanity with all that power. You may not care, but what about the sect's reputation? What about our children? The sect will be fine, and those 2 little bastards will also be fine, Wang Wei replied casually. All right, if you don't care about reputation, don't you care about me? Do you really not care about leaving me alone? How about you accept the seal with me? Wang Wei asked. You, Wu Hong said in anger. I won't speak with you anymore. She disappeared, and Wang Wei sighed. He took one last look at his origin before standing up. He knew he would have to chase her through countless chaos universes before they could make up. However, he did not mind. Eternity was a long time, meaning they needed ways to keep the spark alive. Drama and conflict are the best way, even if it's artificially created. I wonder how long she's going to make me chase this time. Wang Wei hoped she breaks her last record since the makeup afterward was legendary. That woman made him feel sensations he never thought possible. So, with a grin on his face, he started his search. While these lovebirds were renewing their passion, 5 individuals suddenly received a premonition. The first one was Mother Earth. She was a black woman with green, long, natural hair, a crown made of leaves, and a pure white dress. She was watering a towering tree with trillions of branches, in which each leaf was a chaos universe. Among the 5 Supremes, Mother Earth was the most famous because she was essentially responsible for the birth of 2 other Supremes. Earth exists in countless realities and chaos universes, but that was not always the case. At one point in time, there was one Earth in one chaos universe. Mother Earth achieved transcendence from that chaos universe, and she brought the Earth with her, spreading it to countless realities. Mother Earth sensed something, and she extended her mind to meet the others. Taoist All Beginning was focused on his painting of a mountain. He did not care about all the paints on his black Taoist robe, as all he cared about was the painting. If anyone had access to this painting, they could probably achieve transcendence in less than 3 years. That's how remarkable it was. The Taoist sensed something, stopped, and frowned. He was annoyed but still extended his mind for the meeting. An elf wearing a black magic robe focused on engraving runes on a wand. He would occasionally dip his fingers into a golden dust as material for the rune engraving. The dust was created from purple Hongmeng chi and a chaos universe grinding to sand size. A simplification of things, as always, the Source Mage muttered. The Source Mage sensed something and stopped his engraving to attend the meeting. Monster Queen was an enormous creature with numerous body parts of different creatures. Dragons, Cheelans, ghosts, banshees, nymphs. The monster had a part of every creature in existence. To be precise, all creatures, in fact, had a part of her. The strange thing is that this existence had a strange beauty to it despite all the different parts that should not be together. That last part was not necessary, the Monster Queen said. Apologies. Do you want me to delete it? Sage asked. No need, but watch yourself. All right. The last Supreme refused to be shown, but they have allowed their names, Evil Incarnate, to be used. Did you sense it? Mother Earth asked. Why are you asking something so obvious? We know the boy is trying an ascension. The question is whether we should stop him, Evil Incarnate asked. Why should we stop him? Taoist All Beginning asked. We've been lonely for so long. Isn't it good to have another fellow Taoist? I don't care either way, the Source Mage said. Me either, but I'm tired of you Earthlings, the Monster Queen said. I second that, Evil Incarnate said. It's not our fault Hongmeng loves us, Mother Earth shrugged. Let's not go too far, the Monster Queen argued. Can we get back on topic? The Source Mage said. Time is of the essence. But it's really not, Taoist All Beginning said. We have all the time in the world, and I don't like to waste it, even if it's endless, the Source Mage rebutted. Now, have we decided not to intervene? I have no issue. Fine by me. It's a good thing to get a newcomer. Can I at least annoy him? Everyone ignored the Queen's words. Good. In that case, I'm leaving. The Source Mage ended the link. What a boring guy, Evil Incarnate said. How about we bet on whether he'll succeed or not? Why not? I bet he'll succeed, Mother Earth agreed. She had always had faith in all her children. I second that, the Taoist nodded. We can't all agree, so I said he fails miserably and is humiliated, the Monster Queen said. I also bet he's going to fail, Evil Incarnate said. He's too ambitious. He should have done things slowly. All right, what are we betting? Mother Earth asked. I want the root of your Earth Source tree, the Monster Queen said. In that case, I want your source blood. Deal. The Taoist looked at evil incarnate. Do you want such high stakes? Why not? All right. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1538. The framework expands. Wang Wei opened his eyes and exhaled deeply. He took a moment to review the conversations he had with the three of them. He did not miss a second word, a single micro-expression, or even a second body movement. Wang Wei microanalyzed every aspect of that meeting to ensure he did not miss anything. I need to discuss this with the wife, he muttered. He stood up while checking how much time had passed. Is there less than 1 year until the Grand Assembly? An interesting time difference. His conversation with these people was not even an hour, but more than 1,000 years had passed. Wang Wei teleported outside, calculating how long he spent in retreat. He first spent 70,000 yuan epoch in his first retreat before meeting Mithreya. Their discussion took only 500,000 years, and Wang Wei had to retreat again. Now, he has spent another 30,000 yuan epoch. It's not that bad, he thought before walking toward Wu Hong's workroom. As he approached, the twins had just left the room, running into him. Their bodies stiffened for a second before saying, "Congratulations on your retreat, Uncle Master." Wang Wei smiled smugly. "Thank you, and congratulations on becoming primals. Master told us you contributed to our success, so we would like to thank you," Song Jiang said. He waited for his sister to say something, but her mouth was quieter than a mouse trying to sneak food. So, he had to elbow her. "Yes, if not for your nurture core, who knows how long it would have taken us to reach that level," Song Lulu said with a forced smile. "No need to thank me. Your accomplishments are the result of your talent, hard work, and your master's unrelenting effort," Wang Wei said. He knew that he had mostly accelerated their progress, but most of it was due to their own effort. Well, I'm sure you're busy. I'll go see your master." Wang Wei waved before walking inside. He saw Wu Hong surrounded by scrolls and jade talismans, reviewing papers and signing orders. He was immediately distracted by her unparalleled beauty. He was about to ask her to roleplay as a hardcore CEO with glasses, and he would be her secretary, with whom she was having an affair. However, he was immediately distracted by her aura. "Your aura? Have you completed the 13 Transcendent Foundation?" Wu Hong replied without raising her head. "There wasn't enough time, so I've only condensed the spirit seed." Wang Wei immediately frowned. "Can you stop the process of foundation reestablishment? With the right trick, it's possible. The backlash. More pain. Then, it wasn't wise to risk it," Wang Wei said. He did not want her to suffer. "The Grand Assembly is important, and I couldn't waste time waiting for its arrival." Wang Wei sighed. He found a seat next to her and prepared tea and snacks, waiting until she finished all her paperwork. The process took more than an hour, a sign of her workload. "Why are you so busy all of a sudden? Don't you have a continent lord to do all the bureaucratic work?" "We have entered war mode, and I need things to be perfect," Wu Hong said as she drank her tea and snack. This is not bad. You made it?" "It's one of the recipes from the Hui clan," Wang Wei replied. He once invested in a man named Hui Mengwei and even sent the latter to study under Chun Xilan's teacher. "It's a decent recipe," Wu Hong praised as she finished her snack. "Your aura is also different. I reckon the results of your retreat were satisfactory?" "Oh, you have no idea?" Wang Wei said before telling her everything that happened, except about his second condition. It's not that Wang Wei did not trust her, but he did not want information to be revealed. He was more confident that the situation of the prehistoric world was better equipped to hide the information from Grand Dao. Wu Hong listened attentively without commenting, and when he finished, she muttered, "So, it's true." "What is?" "I heard rumors that there were hidden grand constructs, and one of them was the Hall of Records, said to contain all the knowledge, truth, prophecies, and secrets of the world. From your story, it's like Grand Dao used the Observer's Record to create the Grand Dao source that contained all laws, and the Hall of Records to contain information. Now that you mention this, I thought of something, Wang Wei said. The 5 supreme outlaw Daos each have a grand construct except for creation, destruction, and heaven. However, we know destruction might still exist in the form of a battle puppet or something. But the Hall of Records may be the construct for Heaven Dao. The pool of creation, Wu Hong suddenly said with brilliant eyes. I once read that term on a parchment. Ever since, I've been trying to understand what it was. Now, I'm sure it's the grand construct for creation Dao. It's very likely that the general, destruction, was also turned into a construct after building primordial chaos and the grand Dao source. Do you think the grand mist wheel is connected to the pool of creation? Although the source of energy for the mist comes from the source chi space, Wang Wei commented. Everything is connected, so it's possible. Wu Hong nodded. True. Speaking of the source chi space, Hongjun never mentioned when it was created. Do you think it came later? Definitely. Its purpose is not just about sharing energy with different worlds, but also about resource management. So, if I had to guess, Grand Dao created the space after the Essence Age to prevent cultivators from using too much power, Wu Hong analyzed. True. What about the Cardinal and the Tribunal? Do you think they existed before or after the Essence Age? It doesn't have to be either or. Grand Dao probably had the concept of the Tribunal during the Essence Age, and only completed it afterward. By that logic, the Source Chi Cardinal is the youngest. However, that does not truly matter, Wang Wei said with squinted eyes. The real question is whether there are cardinals or people in control of these hidden constructs. After seeing what happened with the Observer, I doubt Grand Dao would grant anyone full control of all the world's secrets, even if she had already separated the law aspect from the Hall of Records. The power of destruction is the sharpest stick in her hands, so that only leaves the pool of creation, Wang Wei muttered. The idea that there might be a hidden cardinal had numerous implications, especially with how the world is about to drastically change in the Transcendent Age. So, the two chose to make a mental note of this possibility. What do you think caused Pangu to choose this path? Wu Hong asked. Do you think his personality has always been this dark and he's been hiding it for so long? Or do you think something changed him? I think he was indeed a kind soul. Are you saying that with something to back it up? Or is there some bias involved? She asked. No bias. My thinking is that it would be challenging to perfectly hide from someone as conniving as Hongjun, especially when the latter was the Destiny Chaos God. That's fair. So, what do you think happened to him? The answer is kind of obvious if you think about it logically, Wang Wei said. For Pangu to do all he did, he must have been a very powerful third-step Dao quintessence cultivator. And by that point, there is only one thing that could influence him. Perfection, Wu Hong uttered. A creature of that level cannot be eliminated easily. It's possible it left a spirit, a remnant, or even worse, an obsession. Pangu might have encountered it and was manipulated. The idea that perfection is still a threat in the universe is not a comforting one. Wang Wei grunted. Yes, with your ability to attract trouble, I do not doubt you'll probably encounter it in some form or shape, Wu Hong said, looking at him strangely. Wang Wei's lips twitched as this was a great possibility. Hopefully, we'll have the strength to fight by then. Have you forgotten what you signed for? Wang Wei said as he raised her hand to show the ring. All my troubles are now your trouble. Why does this feel like I'm a young girl who married someone, only to discover the person is riddled with severe debt? Wang Wei laughed at these words. It's not funny, but it is, Wang Wei exhaled. He controlled himself. Otherwise, he would be laughing all day. Wu Hong rolled her eyes before moving on to another topic. Something has been bothering me about Hongjun's story. Why did Grand Dao take on a humanoid shape? And more importantly, why did she have human clothes? Do you think he created her appearance? Or is there some truth to it? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1539 Hongmeng will. I had the same question. Wang Wei nodded. All creatures will eventually turn into a human shape for cultivation, which is the Tao shape modeled after Grand Tao. There are theories that the reason the human race is so powerful is because they are born with a Tao shape, not required to transform, unlike other races. Grand Tao started to take the one-eyed shape, probably copying the observer's shape. You think Grand Tao's human shape is due to her imitating someone else? Wu Hong asked with a raised eyebrow. But who? Do you think our chaos universe has a creator? It would make sense if Grand Tao copied and learned from its creator. Her attitude would also explain her xenophobia. Perhaps Grand Tao only wanted life forms that resembled her creator. I don't think there is a creator. Wang Wei shook his head. Or if there were, the latter is very irresponsible. If you look at history, it's obvious that Grand Tao was ignorant and spent a long time creating and perfecting the systems of the chaos universe. Now, compare that to when we create a word with the Grand Mist Wheel. The world was too disorganized, especially during the Genesis Age. Grand Tao didn't even know she had to cultivate transcendent tier cultivators to benefit itself. If we follow your train of thought, Grand Tao and the chaos universe were created naturally due to a system that exists in Hongmeng to create more worlds and life, Wu Hong analyzed. It looked like this because it passively received information from Hongmeng, like the people of Earth, and was influenced to take that shape. While that's the most likely case, there are two other possibilities. Wang Wei continued, his eyes embodying the essence of wisdom. First, some random female transcendent passed by when the chaos universe was still in its infancy. Her presence subtly affected Grand Tao, and she modeled herself after this transcendent being. Secondly, the chaos universe is a micro-representation of Hongmeng, meaning Hongmeng has its own controlling entity like Grand Tao. When that entity ordered Grand Tao to create a new world, it also left some information, and Grand Tao chose that shape from the data. No matter which is the truth, I do believe there is such a thing as a Hongmeng will. It's the only organization system that makes sense. Heavenly Tao, true Heavenly Tao, Grand Tao and Hongmeng will, Wu Hong deduced. However, her words immediately created a tension in the room. The two looked at each other, knowing their conversation had reached the threshold of alarming Grand Tao. Wang Wei looked at the sky. He always wondered how Grand Tao seemed to know when people were discussing taboo topics, even in a protected area. Now, he had a feeling it was an ability similar to Yahweh. Grand Tao may not know exactly what people are discussing, but it knew who was doing it and the general idea. Let's talk about something else? Wu Hong said. Why were you so vague about your second condition? It'll tell you when you condense your soul quintessence and update the heaven deception array, Wang Wei said. It's that serious? It's that serious. Wang Wei nodded. I understand. They told each other everything, so he must have a good reason why he insisted. Wu Hong did not think it was a matter of trust, but more of safety. Do you think we can trust Hong Jun? He's shown us enough goodwill, enough to have a decent relationship, but not enough for trust. Wang Wei immediately replied. There are many unknowns about Hong Jun and his real motive. Wang Wei already predicted that the Chaos Demon Gods wanted to return to the world and Lin Fan was their pawn for that. When that happens, what will happen to the Destiny Chaos Demon God? Will Hong Jun use this opportunity to regain his former body and strength? Would someone else inherit the strength of that demon god, forcing Hong Jun to fight for its previous live's power? For now, Hong Jun's status as a chaos demon god is a variable that makes Wang Wei wary to trust him in any capacity. So, while he has no issue working with the latter, he would never truly trust him until he has answers to these questions. Well, that's fair. Wu Hong nodded. Anyone who can enter the first step of transcendence before the ultimate taboo is not someone to treat lightly. Not to mention that Hong Jun achieved success in a strange world like the prehistoric world. Let's learn these techniques before I forget, Wang Wei said as he summoned a talisman with unique power attached to them. They then used their divine sense to memorize the technique inside. Meanwhile, Wang Wei connected to her soul and shared the other two methods with her. It's a lot, Wang Wei complained. No transcendent technique was simple, and even memorizing these techniques could put a burden on a paragon soul. By the way, did anything major happen while I was in seclusion? I mean, besides the upcoming Grand Assembly? One major and two minor events occurred. Wu Hong explained while digesting the 3 methods in her mind. She regulated her mind before answering. The first minor event is the Skill Path Association found their luck-condensing artifact, the Dao Path League. Wang Wei chuckled at this news. It seemed miscellaneous. Finished the copy. The second event is that news about the exchange scroll was leaked. From our side or Kong? Wang Wei asked with a frown. Kong, Wu Hong revealed. He was gathering merit by forming a secret coalition with small factions and the Devil Cultivators. While he was successful, he was also too greedy, and the news was revealed. Kong's probably now a peak paragon with all that merit, Wang Wei thought. More importantly, as the chosen one, it won't be long before he has a fortunate encounter to start his path to primal. By now, these people should have deduced that the sect has an exchange list. And they also realized why you asked for such an exuberant price for the information about the gate. That's right. You should be careful, as these people will try to force the Dao opening sect to make the scroll public for everyone to use. They didn't do that to Kong. They tried, but once again, Buddhism came to his defense, Wu Hong explained. As expected as the protagonist, the top dog is already protecting him, Wang Wei commented with a chuckle. Kong did a great job by building the coalition with small factions, deepening his academy's foundation. However, it was stupid of him to make such a grand mistake by revealing such information. Wu Hong looked at him strangely. Why are you so calm about this information? You should understand that if the majority votes for the Dao opening sect to hand over the scroll, there is nothing you can do to stop it, unless you can fight everyone or get Mithraya's support. It won't get to that point, Wang Wei said calmly. Wu Hong looked at him, and a flash of understanding glistened in her eyes. You think Heavenly Dao will make the exchange list official at the assembly? It's the perfect time and place, isn't it? Wang Wei smiled. The exchange list was for everyone to benefit and prepare for the disaster. Now that the previous and current chosen one have already benefited, it's time for everybody else to have access. That is the best move true Heavenly Dao can make right now, Wu Hong nodded. What was the major news you mentioned? News about the Quintessence realm has already spread among paragons, Wu Hong revealed. And there are titles with the respective realms. Oh! First step is called Primordial Chaos Saint, or just Primordial Saint. Saint? Huh. Wang Wei muttered. He could not help but think that the name was chosen because of the prehistoric world. There are many systems with Saint in their cultivation name, but in the prehistoric world, that name is reserved for the people who stand at the top of the pyramid. Was the name chosen to symbolize that they were now the peak of the primordial chaos? Probably, Wu Hong nodded. She was not entirely sure about these names, as she had not been part of the meeting that decided them. The second step is called Tribunal Saint, probably chosen in order not to piss off the cardinals. Wang Wei nodded. It could also mean that the second step is on par with the cardinal. Then, it would be the same for the third step as they are called Grand Dao Saint. A being on par with Grand Dao, Wang Wei muttered. Hongjun used that name to describe Pangus realm. Wait, who decided these names anyway? A group of primordial saints had a meeting, and from what I hear, 2 tribunal saints from the primeval body mansion and the Desire Heart Palace revealed their presence and acknowledged these titles. The transcendent age is coming. It makes sense that these factions wanted to show their presence to warn others. They probably wanted the luck and destiny for naming these realms, Wu Hong added, and Wang Wei agreed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1540. The deal is completed. The transcendent age is taking shape rapidly. I feel we should accelerate our preparations. Wang Wei sighed. He then suddenly remembered something. How is your recruitment of Sun Junyao? He wanted his wife to have a transcendent tier talent to boost the strength of the Origin Seal continent. She's almost convinced, but it seems she has some reservations after knowing our relationship. Wu Hong replied truthfully. Reservation? Does she think the invitation is set up? That we are trying to gang up on her? Or maybe we are plotting something? I don't really know, but she's hesitating. Maybe she'll be more open to the idea after you break the fate line between you two. Wang Wei groaned. He was so close to cutting all ties with her. He only needed one more significant karmic event, and hell meet the requirements. Wang Wei was about to say something when he suddenly received a talisman from the sect, and he sighed deeply after reading the content. They want you to return? Wu Hong asked. That's right. This is a sensitive time, Wu Hong said. A war/disaster is approaching, and everybody is preparing. As much as she enjoyed spending time with him, she understood there were more important things at play. Before I return, I need you to do something for me and accompany me to a place, Wang Wei said, sending 2 talismans. Where? The Void Illusion Realm, Wang Wei replied before telling her his plan and worry. Ma Wan, the Ma clan's heaven chosen, teleported to the meeting room a few minutes later. Lord Wang Wei. Ma Wan bowed before glancing at Wu Hong. He recognized her as his training involved influential people at the top of the world, people he could not antagonize. So, he immediately bowed. Empress Wu. It seems like my efforts were not wasted. Wang Wei nodded. He sacrificed one of his precious tokens to ensure the deal with Ma Liqiu. I am forever grateful for your care, Ma Wan said with a deep bow. He knew he would not become a boundless paragon at such record speed if not for this man's help. In fact, he would not even have become an emperor in the first place if not for the Dao opening sect's favor. You're welcome. Wang Wei nodded. By the way, why can't I sense your companion's karma? He still remembered that competitive girl, Ma Honghua. She's dead, Ma Wan answered, his voice with a tinge of somberness. Oh! She couldn't accept her fate and rushed to break through. She didn't make it through the immeasurable tribulation. It seems your Ma clan's destiny is nowhere near recovered. Well, my condolences. Wang Wei sighed. Thank you. Although they were competitors, Ma Wan still treated Ma Honghua as a sister. He believed that together, they could revive the Ma clan to its former glory. Unfortunately, that dream is now a fleeting shadow. It's your turn, Wang Wei motioned to his fiancée. Wu Hong nodded before uttering, Don't resist. She condensed a blue light on her palm before fusing it into Ma Wen's body. The latter wanted to resist, but he did not dare move. He understood that his strength was nothing compared to these two, and any sudden reaction might cause his doom. All right, let's go. Wang Wei teleported the two of them to the inner area of the Void Illusion Realm, while Wu Hong secretly followed. As he looked at the barrier blocking his path for endless soul energy, he said, You understand that nothing is free in the cultivation world? I know. Ma Wan understood this truth. A sect like the Dao opening will not randomly select a declining family and spend all that time and effort to raise them for no reason. So, he's been preparing himself for when the foot eventually drops. I made a bargain with one of your ancestors. They'll cultivate a paragon for your clan, and in return, they will compensate me. Now is the time to get my reward. Wang Wei motioned for Ma Wan to approach the barrier, and after a deep breath, the young man took an enormous stride forward. The shield immediately started scanning his body, and after detecting his realm and bloodline, the barrier slowly disintegrated, and Ma Wan disappeared. Wang Wei rushed in, almost salivating at the endless pure soul energy in all states of matter. However, his joyous mood was quickly dampened after scanning the area with his divine sense. Ma Liqiu, do you think him a joke? His voice echoed in the void, but no one answered him. I've done the calculations, and even by the worst estimate, you've only left me with 40% of the soul energy gathered. Wang Wei did the calculations, deducing from Ma Liqiu's era and to the present how much soul energy there should be. I understand wanting to leave some for your resurrection, but I want at least 90% of the reserve. No one answered Wang Wei. It was as if he was speaking to the void. Since you want to do this the hard way, that's what we'll do. He snapped his finger, and an unconscious Ma Wan appeared before him, floating in the air. He snapped his finger again, and numerous symbols spread to every corner of Ma Wen's body. Wang Wei did not utter a word, and as expected, someone showed up before him a few seconds later. He watched as a beautiful woman clad in all white, with golden hair floating with the non-existent wing. Are you the Void Illusion Realm spirit? That's right. You can call me Zhenshi. Then, you should know what I want. Zhenshi looked at Wang Wei's face before looking at Ma Wan. She frowned, hesitating on what to do. Your creator promised the highest control of the void illusion realm. Why aren't you doing what I want? Wang Wei asked, directly staring at her. Aye, all right, but please unseal young Ma Wan. You first, Wang Wei said. Zhenshi hesitated briefly before waving her hand, showing a large section of this area with even more soul energy. Wang Wei scanned the area, nodding in satisfaction. He first moved everything to his space ring before removing the seal and handing over Ma Wan. Zhenshi checked on the young Ma clan leader before teleporting him to an unknown location. She then looked at and bowed. Master. Wang Wei did not answer. Instead, he condensed numerous strings that sealed her. What do you think? This place is well crafted, Wu Hong commented as she appeared next to him. That Maliki woman, she was not only well accomplished in illusion Dao, but also in rune and array. I've only seen ancient runes used at such a high level only a few times. A pair of rune goggles appeared around Wu Hong's eyes as she observed her surroundings. The most interesting thing is that she's invented her own rune system. I'm guessing there are benefits to doing so? Many? Wu Hong nodded. Having a personalized rune system means they are designed to bring out personal strength, not having to make the system universal. More importantly, it makes it 1,000 times harder for other array or rune masters to decipher and change your work. What I'm hearing is even if I'm the highest authority of this place, Malikiu has a way to take control from me, Wang Wei commented. Exactly. In that case, this realm spirit cannot exist. It's best to destroy and create a new one. That will only delay her, not solve the issue, Wu Hong explained. Can you do something? Wang Wei asked with a frown. It will take too long to decipher her system and take full control. She shook her head. I don't have the time now, and even if I did, it would be pointless. Malichio should return to her peak and take control by the time I'm finished. That's bad news, Wang Wei muttered. Why do you want this place anyway? You've got the soul energy, and it will be a while before it can amass more. Is it because it's a memorialized luck? I don't think your sect needs more destiny. You know how greedy I am. How can I let this opportunity pass? Plus, I don't like how Malichio tried to cheat me. So out of pride and saltiness, I want this place. Wu Hong gave him a look. Don't look at me like that. You know what you were getting into. Anyway, this place is about to become the main form of communication during the disaster. It's a good idea to control it. You make a good point, but there is nothing you can do, unless you want to use merit and buy something from the merit list, Wu Hong replied, holding the urge to roll her eyes. I don't want to get this place after making such a great investment when I could have gotten it for cheap. I think this is one of those situations where you have to control your greed. Either let this go, or do a cost analysis and benefit, and see if it's worth using merit to get control of this place, Wu Hong shrugged. Or, I can force its owner. Wang Wei smiled devilishly. Can you leave a method that makes it harder for her to regain control? I want to delay her as much as possible and make the process a nuisance. You want to force her to negotiate with you. That's right. Wang Wei smiled. This place is instrumental to Malikia's transcendent path, and if she wants to have full control, she will have no choice but to negotiate and pay me a steep price. You know, you're a terrible person. I was raised under capitalism. What do you expect? Wang Wei shrugged. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1541 The War Temple and Pill Realm. That's not an excuse, Wu Hong replied. She was sure that plenty of people from Earth who lived under capitalism did not turn out as terrible as he did. Unfortunately, as horrible as he was her little monster. She waved her hand to summon a complex magic circle above the inner core. Wu Hong took her time perfecting the array before slowly lowering it to the ground and fusing it with the void illusion realm. We are good, right? Wang Wei asked. Not yet, Wu Hong replied as she focused on Zhenshi. She clenched her hands, generating a powerful shield that surrounded the spirit before crushing her into spiritual dust. Wu Hong drew a few runes in the void, which proceeded to absorb Zhenqi's spirit dust before condensing a new spirit. Wang Wei looked at the tiny creature with 4 wings. Now we're good. Yes, this new spirit is designed to fight against Maliquia's system and buy you as much time as possible. Excellent. Wang Wei smiled while condensing a token to hand to her. What's this? Access to the soul energy reserve. You should need for your soul quintessence. Thanks. Wu Hong nodded as she put the token away. Have you made a plan? About what? About whether you're going to take the next step as soon as possible, or continue to perfect your foundation. I was planning on traveling to the infinite Trichiliocosm to get the immeasurable emperor title after finishing with the 13 transcendent foundation. Maybe even find a way to make up for missing the emperor taboo realm, Wu Hong revealed truthfully. Then you better hurry up, Wang Wei warned. According to my prediction, the calamity will happen between 20,000 and 40,000 yuan epoch. So soon? Wu Hong said. This was not much time, especially considering all the things she needed to do. After all, she hasn't even modified Mithraya's technique to fit her. I wish my prediction were more accurate, but as you know, there are too many primordial saints involved in this disaster. And this is the best divination I can do. No need to blame yourself, Wu Hong reassured. Most diviners would die or suffer severe backlash, trying to get as close to a date as he did. So she would not blame him for not being as accurate as possible. I think I'll have to wait to see how the situation develops before making a choice, Wu Hong replied. That's probably the best move, Wang Wei nodded. If Mithraya can buy enough time, then Wu Hong can focus on establishing her foundation. However, if things are dire, she must concentrate on raising her cultivation. Well, it's time to leave. Wang Wei kissed her before teleporting away. As soon as he arrived home, he sensed something and smiled. He glanced at the new mountain in the distance with the name Pill Sage Mountain. He did not hesitate to teleport above the large mansion that smelled like herbs. As soon as he arrived, a bright light flew into his arm. You've ascended? It's been a while, Yen Liling said as she held him tightly. I came to see you, but they said you were in retreat. You should understand the current situation. I need to get stronger as soon as possible. Let me see you. Wang Wei ended the tight hug to better observe her situation. Yen Liling had her alternative Dao Root Foundation, Emperor Taboo Battle Realm, 11th Revolution Bloodline, Limit Indestructibility, Peak Empyrean Realm, Empyrean Battle Taboo Realm, Paragon Soul, and a Paragon Willpower. Excellent. It seems you did your best in the lower dimension, and the sect also spent much effort on training you after your ascension. They did? Yen Liling nodded. I left instruction for that old man Wang Bo to be your teacher. Did he accept you? I had to take a test, but yes. Afterward, the old man refused to leave me alone. Hey, girl, this is the way you should be talking to your master, said a deep voice from the mansion. However, Wang Bo did not show up. So, Wang Wei just nodded to salute. Boy, I heard rumors that you are engaged to the Empress? Of course. TCH, am so envious. You better treat her well. Wang Wei's lips twitched. Old man, you and I will have a problem if you keep thinking about my wife like that. All right. I know I don't have a chance. Anyway, I won't get in the way of your reunion anymore. Wang Wei shook his head before focusing on Yen Liling. Let's have a small dinner like old times. Are you sure? It seems the ancestors are waiting for you. I should have a few minutes before I have to see them. All right. Yen Liling guided him to her kitchen. Wang Wei immediately began preparing the food, while Yen Liling mixed the drink, a unique concoction of her own. I don't sense Li Jun, so I'm guessing he continued training with the Yama Kings. That's right. He said he wanted to give you a surprise when you see him, and it should save the sect a lot of resources. He's as practical as ever, Wang Wei chuckled. Regardless, he was looking forward to their reunion. How was your reign? I think it was great, Yen Liling answered. Junor built the War Temple as his legacy. He gained permission from the Yama Kings to summon projections of talented emperors from other chaos worlds. His temple was even more popular than the Dream World's battle tower. That's a great idea. The lower dimension talent will now have a much larger talent pool to compete against, Wang Wei praised. But why are you giving me this strange look? Well, the War Temple doesn't just allow people to fight against the imprints of foreign great emperors. They can also use the imprints of other emperors. I'm guessing that Di Tian and I were at the top, Wang Wei said. Although imprints cannot fully represent an emperor's power, it's close enough to determine the difference in strength. At first, that was true, but not long afterward, two anomalies showed up, Yan Liling explained. The first one was someone called Tian Xian. He defeated Di Tian's imprint after a long battle, but lost to you. However, someone called Heavenly Book defeated both Di Tian and Tian Xian, and tied with you. Wang Wei squinted. It was a great shock to the lower dimension. No one thought someone rivaling you would exist, and people talked about it. Well, until we ascended, Yan Liling continued. However, there is more. Oh? Juner revealed the imprint was based on outdated information. The owner did not authorize the utilization of all his strength to protect his information. Interesting, Wang Wei muttered. He was not too surprised by this news. Based on Emperor Jia's cultivation, he had deduced that the Heavenly Book was an extreme version of Di Tian. The madman has most likely reincarnated and become an eternal emperor 9 times as a form of Transcendent Foundation. In fact, Wang Wei even believed that the latter has cultivated to the peak of the Paragon realm 9 times, achieving an even more advanced form of Transcendent Foundation technique. As such, he would not be surprised if Heavenly Book were more powerful than he as an emperor. Are you all right? Of course. No need to lie, Yan Liling said. I know you, and the way you reacted tells me you know who Heavenly Book is. And he may even be an enemy. He's just someone who's been lurking around me with an unknown purpose. While he's a threat, I'm already aware of his existence and keeping an eye out, Wang Wei said truthfully. One of the reasons he decided to stay in the shadows during the disaster was his weariness toward the Heavenly Book Paragon. You know you can count on me now that I have ascended? Of course, Wang Wei smiled. Yan Liling will be an immense help once her cultivation reaches the peak, or even when she becomes a primal. Good. She nodded. What was your legacy? Wang Wei asked, moving on from the previous topic. The pill realm, she explained. I used Juner's help to gain access to the imprint of foreign pill refiners. Then, I condensed them into phantoms or remnants for people to learn or compete against. However, that's not the primary objective of my legacy. The phantoms have sentience, like spirits, and they have been tasked to ensure the prosperity of pill Dao in the lower dimension. In what ways? Can they create pill formulas, improve runes, or even create a new universal rune system? Or do they just condense the luck of pill Dao? They do everything you said and more, Yan Liling said with a smug look. That is indeed brilliant. Wang Wei nodded. Yan Liling hasn't realized it yet, but her legacy is the perfect prototype for her Dao quintessence. Once she reaches that level, she can just copy it or, even better, just absorb that prototype and upgrade it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1542 Elder Ceremony. For the next half hour, the two talked, ate, and drank. Yan Liling did most of the talking, recounting everything that Wang Wei missed in the lower dimension. It appears the lower dimension is finally reaping the benefit of the First Origin War, Wang Wei commented. Finally? Hasn't it always been benefiting? Yan Liling asked. A part of her training was history and learning the secrets of the world, so she knew the significant events of the upper dimension and their overall impact on the world, and even the chaos universe. Think about it carefully. Before I came, the number of Eterna in power was pitifully low, with no world having double digits of Eternals. If the lower dimension was the destiny center after the First Origin War, why was such a small number of Eternals produced compared to the upper dimension? I figured it was a matter of quality over quantity, Yan Liling said. It was. That destiny allowed people like the ancestors, Empress Wu, and many other Eternals to prosper and change the world. However, so now, destiny is manifesting in another form. Quantity. Yes and no. The Forerunners have perfected the destiny and improved upon it. They showed the world it was a wise move to give control of the upper dimension to people from the lower dimension. Now, with the improved destiny, the lower dimension can now create both quantity and quality of cultivators, of eternal emperors. Wang Wei analyzed. That would explain why the Heavenly Emperor was so prosperous even after 33 generations. With no signs of slowing down, Yan Liling nodded. Exactly. Wang Wei nodded. Of course, he knew there were bigger things at play behind the Heavenly Emperor's prosperity, but this was not something to discuss with Yan Liling until she reached higher realms. Wang Wei took a sip of his drink. Liling's craft had improved, making this juice even more delicious than the last time he tasted it. You sure are taking your time? Yan Hai's voice suddenly echoed in the room. You know, people are waiting for you? Wang Wei immediately stood up. I forgot, he said with a slight flush on his face. Hurry up. I'm coming, Wang Wei said before summoning a token to give to Yan Liling. Time is running out, so you must become a paragon as soon as possible, and this token is a shortcut. Did you bring as much merit as possible, as I reminded you? I did. Have you used them? No. The teacher told me to wait until I was a paragon. It seemed that old man is not senile yet. He was right. Use your merit to raise your realm in the paragon realm as much as possible. I understand. Yan Liling nodded. Kai Song is here, right? Yeah. How is her cultivation? Same cultivation and achievements, but her foundation is a little deeper since she ascended first. Yan Liling replied truthfully. That's good to hear. This token is for her. Don't you want to see her? Yan Liling knew her big brother had great plans for Kai Song, so she encouraged him to establish a deeper bond. We can talk afterward, Wang Wei said. It would be best not to waste time and focus on the upcoming Grand Assembly. He had a feeling great things were about to happen during that meeting. If you say so. Wang Wei said his goodbye before teleporting near Elder Council Mountain before slowly flying to the meeting hall. Everyone was here, waiting for him. And as soon as he arrived, Wang Wei noticed three things. First, only 3 of the ancestors showed up. Second, there were 3 new seats on the front beside his, signifying 3 new peak paragons. More importantly, there was a new seat in the ancestor side, indicating a new primal. He observed the person and recognized it as Yen Shurong. The last time he checked, Yen Shurong was only in the 9 heavens during the ultimate taboo, and probably achieved the peak during the taboo. But now, he has ascended into the realm of primals. He should have a fortunate encounter, Wang Wei analyzed. And the aftereffect of the ultimate taboo should be showing soon. Wu Hong and the twins should not be the only primals showing up. Most of the overlords should be given birth to new members. However, everyone knew this change was not as exciting as before. In the new era, primals were irrelevant. What will determine a faction's rise and fall will be the number of primordial chaos saints. I deeply apologize for my tardiness, Wang Wei said as he bowed 90 degrees, showing the utmost respect. He knew how to play politics. He was a young man who rose to the peak at an alarming rate. He's world famous, is loved by his ancestors, and has been granted great power in a short period. To put it another way, many people are probably wary of him. Whether it's due to his age, jealousy, concerns, or a desire for power, many eyes were on him. So, the fact that he arrived late at such a meeting was not a good sign. So, Wang Wei chose the best approach to mediate the solution. Apologize sincerely. We all have eternity, so it's not an issue to wait a few minutes, Qiyuan said with a gentle smile. Many people wanted to say something, but since the founder had spoken, they would give him face. Wang Wei's attitude also helped. That is not an excuse to waste others' time. Wang Wei shook his head. He bowed a second time to all the elders before taking his seat at the front. He observed and recognized many people. He saw the Rainbow Emperor, who stuck her tongue at him, the somber and cool Shadow Ruler, the Miscellaneous Emperor with his scholarly aura, the Turtle Shell Emperor, who was not wearing his shell, but had designed it on his blue robe, The latter nodded to him before continuing to flirt with an elder in the back row. Hell Judgment had his eyes closed. It's apparent he was a loner. The first order of business is about your elder ceremony, Chiyuan continued. Although it's a tedious process, it involves the luck and destiny of the sect, so this must be done. Since you don't want any grand celebration, let's use the next few days to get it over with. The ceremony process was not complicated. Wang Wei needed to isolate himself in mediation for 3 days, bathe in incense, and wear white. Then, he would salute a white altar with many of the elders as witnesses. As soon as Wang Wei finished praying at the altar, the sky changed. The sect's Qi Luck Dragon, a grand and noble white dragon, manifested between heaven and earth. Such a sight is normal for every ceremony, but what happened next shocked almost everyone. The dragon roared happily to the sky before manifesting grand visions around him. It then flew toward Wang Wei and motioned for him to get up on its head. Although surprised, Wang Wei nodded before jumping on. The dragon proceeded to condense a golden-purple robe that wrapped neatly around Wang Wei before parading him for half an hour around the sect. Now do you understand why I put so much energy and faith in him? Chiyuan muttered to the other elders with a small smile. Before the meeting, Chiyuan felt the sects acquiring a new source of memorialized luck from Wang Wei's acquisition of the Void Illusion realm. He hid the changes to the sect's luck out of caution and because he wanted to reveal it in the meeting to build momentum for Wang Wei. The elders were at a loss for words. Many of them have been in the sect since it was known as the Myriad Emperor sect, and throughout their lives, they have never seen an elder so grandly celebrated after ceremony. So, this is why you've been insisting he's the future of the sect, Yan Shurong uttered. He was a young man with bright blue eyes, incredibly handsome with a chiseled jaw as a defining characteristic. He wore a blue robe with clouds, with a scent of nature that was alluring to man and woman. If we want to become a true transcendent faction, one with many transcendent saints, he is our future, Chiyuan said calmly. But don't just take my words for it. The catastrophe is coming, and you'll see what I mean. All I ask is that you give him the benefit of the doubt and time to acclimate to his role. Yan Hai snorted coldly. The kid is indeed our future, but he still has a lot of room for development. Chiyuan nodded slightly. He was a master of politics, so he understood Yan Hai's role to balance his enthusiastic support of Wang Wei. Ultimately, politics is a strategic game, and the 3 siblings have been playing longer than most of these elders have been alive. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1543 The Elder Council. This was quite the ride, Wang Wei muttered as he flew toward the Elder Council mountain. His glamorous clothes have been dispersed, meaning he was back to his white ceremonial clothes. However, Wang Wei changed to his iconic purple robe with golden stitching on the cuffs, featuring symbolic or decorative motifs of strings and control. Enjoying yourself? It was quite an interesting experience. Wang Wei smiled. But the records never showed any such precedents. No one has ever created as much memorialized luck for a faction, Chiyuan replied. And I have a feeling the dragon also shares my view that you are the future of the sect. That's fine by me, as long as you don't drop all the heavy loads on me and act like you're retired. Of course not. I'm still young and have many things to do. Wang Wei looked at him, and for the first time he believed these words. It seemed that Chiyuan had worked out whatever spiritual crisis he was having after the ultimate taboo. All right, let's get started. Everyone returned to the meeting room and took their position. Our first order of business is the Void Illusion realm, Chiyuan continued. Grand Elder Wang Wei has recently acquired control of this realm, and you can imagine the importance of its acquisition. The disaster is coming, and it should be our main means of communication. Someone communicated. We used it during the First and Second Origin War. I don't see why we shouldn't use it again. Now that we control it, we will have more power during the assembly. Forget about the power, said Grand Elder Li Shengzong, the former patriarch of the Li clan. We should be worrying about security. What do you mean? In the previous wars, we didn't have to worry about the enemy taking control of the Void Illusion realm. However, With primordial saints existing and probably participating in the disaster, this should be a major concern. I didn't think of that, but can we even ensure adequate protection? Do we need to rely on Buddhism for this matter? If we do, we will have to share control of the realm with them. Should we be worrying about such a minor matter? A disaster is coming, and we don't even know if we'll survive. Our priority should be our safety, not power or control. So, we agree to work with Buddhism? How about we wait a little while to buy some kind of defensive measures from the exchange list? We know there will be resources at the Transcendent Saint level. Can we afford it? And even if we can, is the price worth it for the Void Illusion realm? That's a fair point. Everyone shared their thoughts and opinions before silencing themselves and looking at the ancestors. What do you think? Qiyuan asked. We have two choices. Work with Buddhism or Heavenly Tao, Yen Shurong said calmly. The Void Illusion realm is a fundamental part of the Eternal Ascension world, and Heavenly Tao should be more than capable of ensuring its safety. Qiyuan nodded as this was his train of thought as well. Wang Wei, what do you think? Under normal circumstances, I would recommend working with both. Communication is key to any war or conflict, and securing our primary means of communication should be a top priority. However, there are underlying circumstances that forced me to recommend Buddhism. Oh, Qiyuan asked, slightly intrigued. He thought of something. Is this about Ma Liquiu that you mentioned? That's right. According to my prediction, she should be reviving herself soon. Heavenly Tao is about the overall situation, and after knowing that Ma Liquiu has a high chance of becoming a primordial saint with the Void Illusion realm, it will give her control or access. We can't let that happen, a Grand Elder said. I concur. It's fine if she becomes a primordial saint since the world needs her strength to survive the disaster, but it can only be after we have one or a few of our own. Exactly. Qiyuan raised his hand to stop everyone. He focused on Wang Wei and continued. From the way you previously talked about her, you plan to turn her into an ally, but your tones seem to have changed? She's too smart for her own good. Wang Wei shook his head. She's not as reliable as I thought. That's unfortunate, Qiyuan muttered. He then used his divine sense to converse secretly with Yen Hai and Yen Shurong about this matter before declaring, It's decided. We will work with Buddhism. Grand Elder Long Zhuli will be the ambassador to the Buddha Haven to discuss the logistics. No one disagreed with the decision. The sect has operated under a hierarchical structure for many years. Most of the time, power resides with the sect master, but in times of distress, the council, and more importantly, the ancestors have all the power. Does anyone else have something to say on the topic? I have something to say. All eyes were on Wang Wei. Go ahead. I believe I sent the news about Kong's Mortal Soul Legion. Yes, we received your news and archived it in the information hall, Yen Hai said. Wang Wei nodded. Kong and Saint Maitreya should be suggesting this idea to the Grand Council, and I believe no one would reject it. However, for his plan to succeed, they'll need access to the Void Illusion realm. We need to prepare to accommodate his plan and all the mortals of the world. That is true, Qiyuan nodded. Who wants to partake in this endeavor? As soon as he said those words, numerous people raised their hands. The Tao opening sect still operated on a sect point system in the upper dimension. Many rare resources require sufficient contributions and sect points to exchange. And since the appearance of the exchange list, points can even be exchanged for merit at a decent price. In the end, Qiyuan chose a team of grand and regular elders knowledgeable in soul, illusion, and array Tao, along with people with skills for organization. After all, they had to deal with countless mortals. The next topic is war preparation, Qiyuan stated. For the next few minutes, people reported on the current situation. A lot of resources have been invested in training as many talents as possible. The sect has also increased its recruitment numbers, even lowering the requirement slightly to compensate for the high casualties in the disaster. However, someone suggested that since they lowered the requirements, they should increase the intensity of the disciples' training. Almost everyone agreed with this suggestion, with a few disagreeing. feeling the sect should continue its path of cultivating elites. These people wanted the requirements to be even harsher. Ultimately, the ancestors opted for the low-requirement, high-intensity training approach. Wang Wei did not speak much on this topic, using the opportunity to understand the ins and outs of the sect. These people have more experience than he regarding preparing for large-scale wars and have basically perfected the sect system. His input was not required. Once the topic of war preparation ended, Qiyuan was about to continue with the next topic when he sensed something. A shadow appeared behind him. The person lowered his head and muttered something in his ears that only he could hear. The tension in the room suddenly thickened when everybody saw the deep furrow in Qiyuan's brow. They waited with bated breath until the shadow disappeared. We failed to find the disaster's origin. His words confused most people as they were not privy to the information. So, Qiyuan sent the information into everybody's mind. Qiyuan once insisted on buying news about the disaster gate from Wuhong because he had a special technique to find the origin of things. After years of preparation, he used the technique and was directed to a timeline in the infinite trichiliocosm. Out of precaution, Qiyuan sent causality-free clones to investigate. However, he just received the news that all the clones died without the ability to resist. More importantly, that timeline disappeared. An entire timeline disappeared? What power is required to do such a thing? Unlike our primordial timeline, there are not as many rules and regulations. So, the power needed could be as low as the first step or as high as the third step. You might as well not say anything? An elder rolled her eyes. It's obvious that only the people in the quintessence realm could do this. So, saying any of the three realms could be responsible was the same as not saying anything. No need to panic, Qiyuan reassured everybody. Heavenly Tao has been preparing for this disaster, so there is no way it will not control the scale. The highest cultivators appearing will probably be tribunal saints, and they will be the weaker end. A being on par with Grand Tao has no business in this tribulation. Ancestor, you've doomed us all, Wang Wei said with a crying face. Huh? Qiyuan uttered, not hiding his puzzlement. Now that you've said these words, there will definitely be a Grand Tao saint involved somehow, Wang Wei said, wanting to cry but had no tears. Qiyuan wanted to deny his words and tell him to stop speaking nonsense to scare everybody else. However, he remembered that people like them, who are favored by destiny, are trouble magnets. It happened to Heaven Opening, to Qiyuan, and Wang Wei was the worst of the three. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1544, The Elder Council. 2. The law of balance of the chaos universe does not play around. The higher a person's destiny is, the luckier they will be, and the harsher their life will be. This rule applies to everyone, and when it comes to extreme cases like Qiyuan and Wang Wei, the worst is expected to happen in every scenario. We may need to prepare for the worst-case scenario, Yan Hai muttered. She's been with Qiyuan the longest and was present for all the moments when the worst-case scenarios happened. It's all your fault, Qiyuan said while staring at Wang Wei. Me? You're the one who decided to put those unlucky words into the world. If you keep quiet, we may have a chance, Wang Wei countered. Now is not the time to play the blame game, Yan Hai said. We need a concrete plan. She already noticed several people who could no longer control their auras after realizing a Grand Tao saint might be involved in the disaster. But what can we do? Yan Shurong asked, his lips twitching. He had read the stories of his ancestors, and the current situation made him realize, in hindsight, how harsh their lives had been. He also realized he suffered the most during the ultimate taboo when he was with them. If the situation reaches that point and there is nothing we can do, we can only rely on our desperate safety net, Wang Wei said. You mean Su Dandan? Qiyuan said. You put it nicely, calling it a desperate safety net. If they join the primeval body mansion as a way to save their lives from a Grand Tao saint, the Tao Opening sect might cease to exist, at least until they can survive and cultivate a saint on that level. However, would the mansion just allow them to grow? That path was the last resort and could only be used after all other options had been exhausted. We need to give that little girl more support if she's going to be our safety net, Yanhai said. We should also increase our focus on body refining if we want to better acclimate to the mansion. So, should we increase our support in spreading the human fiend god bloodline? Yen Shurong asked. The new bloodline has significantly enhanced the sect's potential in numerous ways, including the creation of several potential primals. In the previous era, only pseudo-eternals had the opportunity to become primals, unless the cultivators walked the true power Tao realm path and achieved willpower manifestation. Unfortunately, not many people possess the talent for body refinement, nor could they endure the pain that came with it. The human fiend god bloodline and the current spirit of cultivation of the sect have created numerous primal prospects that can use willpower manifestation instead of Tao will. Even more, we should establish a strict system that encourages the awakening and development of our bloodline. But what about the reproduction issue? Yen Shurong asked. The law of balance of the universe is prevalent everywhere. Fiend gods are born powerful, but they have a slow growth period and low reproductive abilities. Humans are born weak, but compared to fiend gods, their speed of breeding is comparable to bunnies. The human fiend god cannot escape this balance. They cannot be powerful and have high reproduction. Wang Wei has circumvented this balance by sealing the bloodline of clan members, requiring them to awaken at a certain age, with a probability of failure. In other words, human fiend gods are technically born weak. However, this method will not be nearly enough once so many members of the clan have such a powerful bloodline. The way of balance is not a rigid rule or system, but more a will or consciousness that will change and adapt to any situation. Once the Tao opening sect becomes a bloodline faction with billions of members, it will trigger the balance mechanism. No need to worry about it, Qiyuan replied. Yen Shurong squinted as he understood the latter's meaning. Once they have one or a few transcendent saints, they can deal with the mechanism, or, at the very least, reduce its effect. Now, their focus should be to spread the bloodline to prepare for the disaster and possible fusion with the primeval body mansion. I understand. Qiyuan looked at the elders. No need to panic. Our sect has survived for so long because we have remained calm, no matter the circumstances, and we have prepared for all scenarios. So, even if a Grand Tao Saint is somehow involved in this disaster, we will survive it. Qiyuan's white robe, calm demeanor, profound eyes, and an aura that indicated he was the origin of all Taos were indeed reassuring. Most of the elders who were panicking felt appeased. He even instilled a sense of confidence in them. Even the ones who did not completely trust his words did not immediately despair, which was a good sign. Thank you, Ancestor, the elders said in unison, bowing slightly. The only person who secretly rolled his eyes was Wang Wei. He knew how terrifying Grand Tao Saint was. Although Hongjun's storytelling used crude visions, he could still deduce from the context clues how terrifying an existence Pengu was. However, he was also not panicking about this news. If everything goes accordingly, the person who will be involved in the cause and effect of the Grand Tao Saint is Emperor Kong, not him. Wang Wei plans to activate his Black Qi luck ability during the entire disaster to remain unaffected by fate, destiny, luck, and cause and effect. He will do everything from the shadows and only show up when needed. I'm about to enter my puppeteer era, Wang Wei thought with a smirk. Qiyuan nodded at everybody's response. He noticed Wang Wei's anomaly, but he did not point it out. We have 2 more topics to discuss, he continued. The first is about the Grand Assembly. The Qin Saint Court is in charge of this session, so we should prepare for the meeting. Although unlikely, we should prepare in case the Qin people are planning something. Would they dare? Especially with Saint Methreya present? Don't think she is absolute. Who knows what people have brought from the ultimate taboo? One of the elders argued. Previously, everyone was injured or in limbo, so these methods could not be used. But that's no longer the case. There is also the fact that everybody now has contact with other worlds. Who knows if any of these people have already sold our world for profit? Aren't you exaggerating things? Maybe. But remember, if we can have the primeval body mansion as a backup, why can't they? That's true. The human emperor is a master of luck manipulation, so attendees should prepare. Additionally, their main array is a masterful creation. We should prepare in case they suddenly turn it against us. In that case, Wang Wei, Miscellaneous 1, Shadow Ruler, Sir Wang Bo, and Tang Song will attend the assembly with us. The elders looked at Wang Wei. They understood all the other choices. Grand Elder Shadow Ruler was here in case they needed to escape. Miscellaneous, Wang Bo, and Tang Song formed a team of rune and array masters to deal with the Qin Quartz array. So, why was this young Grand Elder chosen? Is this another case of the ancestors' favoritism? Wang Wei smiled before releasing the slight aura of his luck Dao. Then, an understanding dawned on everybody. They had no complaints. Although there were a few people who studied luck, none had such a pure aura. Maybe they would have protested before the ceremony, but now everybody chose to hold their tongues. Let's continue, Qiyuan said. One of the primary discussions is the fate of the Primarchs. What's your opinion? What is there to discuss? This is the perfect opportunity to weaken the temple. But is it that simple? We know the potential of the demon race. They have been occupied dealing with the innate demon gods, preventing them from growing and prospering. But once their enemy is out of the way, they will become a major problem. Not really. They still need to battle the temple, which means they will suffer immense casualties in the process. When they take the time to recuperate, we will use that opportunity to leave them behind. Why be so nice? We can secretly destabilize their faction and ensure they never recuperate. I strongly disagree. We always had a somewhat amicable relationship with the demons. If we interfere too much in their affairs, it may drive them into cooperating with the Grand Sect Alliance. You guys need to stop thinking like it's the previous era and think about the future. Saint Methreya has already shown signs that she expects cooperation from all the overlords to survive the catastrophe. Do you really think she'll allow anyone to weaken the demon race? You have a point. So, do you think she will not allow the Primarchs to perish? Hard to say. They are an unstable variable, which may sway her decision. Asterisk deep sigh asterisk I miss the days when everything was relatively balanced. Now, she holds all the power. Don't say these words out loud. Your words make me even sadder. We have to adapt to the current situation. We allowed our pride to get in the way during the taboo, and this is the price to pay. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1545 Elder Council 3. What do you think? Qiyuan asked, looking directly at Wang Wei, who did not immediately answer. Instead, he took the time to access the information hall and reviewed all the news gathered by the sect during his absence about the temple. Things will not proceed as smoothly as most people think, Wang Wei finally said. The Primarchs are not stupid. They should have realized that their compatriot is setting them up, but they have remained calm and composed until now. They must have something to rely on to survive this ordeal. Based on the information, Wang Wei realized these Primarchs remained seated in their position without doing anything. They didn't fight with the Emperor Path demon gods. They barely tried to clear their names, and they haven't secretly tried to move some of their people away. The only explanation for their behavior is that they have accepted their fate, or they have something up their sleeve to survive the ordeal. Wang Wei believes it's the latter, especially after his deduction during his retreat. However, he did not bring it during this meeting because he was not too sure, and he hoped he was right. So, he decided to keep this news to himself and let things develop accordingly. It's indeed odd. At first, I thought they wanted to argue their case fairly during the assembly, but these old beasts should not be this naive. Yan Shurong added. These innate demon gods should understand that people want to eliminate them to weaken the temple, and finally settle the battle between innate and acquired life forms. Well, it's not much of a debate anymore since the acquired have won. However, many people still find them an eyesore, and they will be more than happy to eliminate them entirely. But what could their way of surviving be? Don't tell me they've sold themselves to foreign worlds, Yan Hai said. It's not impossible. They are not desperate and will probably do anything to survive. Qiyuan frowned. Who would they join? an elder asked. It could be any transcendent faction, or maybe the Heaven Law world, someone suggested. Transcendent faction can provide them with better protection, and the Heaven Law world was ruled by primarchs, so it made sense to join their fellow compatriots. Does it matter who? We should focus on how to respond if it's true. It does matter. These traitors must have sold our news to other chaos worlds. You don't think these foreigners already know the state of our world? These hyenas have already prepared to benefit from the chaos. They haven't shown themselves because they are waiting to see the scale of the disaster. They want us to bear the brunt of the first wave of attacks. Wang Wei frowned after hearing these words. Why wasn't the Hong protection system activated? According to his fiancée, the system was not designed to protect the world from invaders, but it could also intercept communications. In other words, it was the wise move to activate it to keep news from leaking. The system is now completely under Heavenly Daos control, Yan Hai explained. So, it wants the news to leak? Wang Wei uttered. He did not hide his sneer. It makes sense. If we fail the disaster, it would want foreign factions to take our place and continue the prosperity of the central Destiny Chaos world. Although Wang Wei's words were harsh, it contained some truth. Heavenly Dao has planned the rise of the Eternal Ascension world for too long, meaning it's prepared to do whatever it takes to ensure success, even if it means replacing the current inhabitants with foreign forces. We have never trusted Heavenly Dao, so our sect has long been prepared to compete with foreign forces to preserve our spot at the top of the hierarchy. Yan Shirong sneered. Wang Wei nodded. The disaster has many implications. On the lowest level, it is a reshuffling of the power board, removing the 13 overlord system and setting up a new system with transcendent factions at the top. However, at the highest level, the disaster's purpose is to launch the Transcendent Age, pushing the Chaos universe into a new era. A few historians have argued that the Transcendent Age began with the revelation of the Quintessence Realm, and some extreme scholars have even suggested that the end of the ultimate taboo marked the start of the age. However, Wang Wei believes the age will officially begin when the first true and complete primordial chaos saint from the Eternal Ascension world is born. This idea is why he encourages and tries to ensure Wu Hong is the first to do it. Let's get back on topic, Qiyuan said. What should our stand be about the fate of the primarchs? I say we vote with everybody else and wait to see how they plan to save themselves. If they are indeed traitors, maybe we can put some of the blame on the temple and use this opportunity to weaken them. That's not a bad idea. I'm not too fond of how they are using us to clean up their house. The general consensus has been determined, and since the ancestors did not object, it was decided. The following discussion was still about the Grand Assembly, but it was more of a speculation of what other people might propose. The council also talked about the possible steps the assembly will take to prepare for war mobilization. This discussion lasted for several days before it came to a close. Then, Qiyuan and the other two had a serious look. For this next conversation, only the Grand Elders can participate. The others looked at each other before slowly and methodically leaving the meeting room, leaving the first row of individuals. Once everybody was out, Qiyuan, Yan Hai, and Yan Shirong moved. They acted together to activate an array that covered the meeting room. Their cautions increased the tension in the room, but everyone waited with bated breath. Grand Elder Xie Yuehan, Grand Elder Yin Shishing, Grand Elder Wang Liping, Grand Elder Two Fingers, and Grand Elder Zhou Shihong, please stand up. Everyone was now confused, so they looked at these five with suspicion. However, even these five elders were perplexed as to why they were called out. However, they followed orders and slowly stood up. All eyes were on them as people wondered whether it was a good or bad thing to be called out. Qiyuan did not waste time giving them an answer. He waved his hand to manifest black chains that instantly captured these five. Ancestor, what's the meaning of this? Wang Liping yelled. Yes, we did nothing wrong. Cooperate and you'll be released and compensated if you're discovered to be innocent, Qiyuan said calmly. He did a hand sign to activate the array, materializing a large mirror that shone on these five elders. Well, Yan Hai asked after a few minutes. Most of them are only unknown pawns. They probably didn't know their existence was tempered, Qiyuan replied calmly. That means there is a traitor. Who is it? Wang Liping. All eyes immediately shifted to a middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance, wearing all black. The man looked so bland that it was hard to believe he shared the Wang clan blood, or that he was a paragon in the first place. Ancestor, this must be a mistake. Wang Liping tried to argue. Who's behind him? Yan Hai asked, looking at him intently. Her sword will make many people in the room suffocate. I don't know. Qiyuan shook his head. What I know is he has been replaced long ago, with the original Wang Liping long dead. Such a perfect copy? Yan Shurong uttered. That's the scary part. Qiyuan nodded. What do we do with him? Do we try to get more information? Or just eliminate him? Yan Shurong asked. The power that can make such a perfect copy is not something we can meddle with currently. So he must be eliminated, Qiyuan said firmly. No, you can't do this. I am. A sword strike with unparalleled speed strikes out, instantly eliminating his body and soul. Yan Hai then closed her eyes to sense something. Less than 20 minutes later, she entered the river of time and returned a few minutes later. Everybody then sensed a slight change in the sect's luck. They understood what had happened. Grand Elder Liping was dead. They looked at Yan Hai with deep fear. They knew primals were scary, but this was on another level. The person most shocked by this event was Yan Shurong. He was on cloud 9 after becoming a primal, but after seeing how fast and easily Yan Hai found Wang Liping's time mark and killed him, he realized there were levels to primals. What should we do with the rest? Yan Hai asked. Wang Wei, can you help them? Qiyuan asked. I'll try. Wang Wei approached the captured elders and observed for a few minutes. Then, he started putting acupuncture needles all over their bodies. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1546. Elder Council. 4. Once Wang Wei's treatment ended, 3 of the Grand Elders vomited weird things like gas, bugs, or a weird substance. However, the last one, Grand Elder Zhou Shihong, only perspires for a few seconds. They should be all fine, except Grand Elder Zhou Shihong. Whatever methods used on him is behind my ability, Wang Wei said. What do you think we should do with him? Qiyuan asked. Put him into isolation until my method is improved, Wang Wei suggested. Since Zhou Shihong was innocent, there was no need to kill or lock him in a harsh prison. Understood. What about the others? Wang Wei asked. There should be people with problems among the other elders, or even the lower deacons or disciples. Shadow Ruler is in charge of monitoring and drawing out the people behind them, Qiyuan revealed. That's the best approach. Wang Wei nodded. Grand Elders have the most power and access to sensitive information, so it's understandable why they must be dealt with. However, the others can be used as pawns to draw the chess masters behind them. You should be careful, Wang Wei warned. People who can bypass most means of detection and leave means of control deep into someone's existence are never simple. I will, Shadow Ruler nodded simply. Qiyuan waved his hand to send Zhou Shihong away before focusing on the remaining 3 Grand Elders. I apologize for being so harsh, and as I said, you will be compensated. No, we understand, replied Grand Elder Xie Yuehan with a horrible expression. The Xie clan was in charge of the sect's shadow network, but as someone with such power in the clan, he was unknowingly compromised. He was lucky he was not executed for his crimes. Now, let's continue the meeting. Qiyuan waved his hand to summon jade talismans for everyone. However, there was a seal on the talisman with a contract that everyone must sign before reading the content. This contract seems to be an alternate form of the existence contract. It seems the sect has already started adapting to the upcoming age, Wang Wei commented as he signed the contract. However, his lips twitched immediately afterward. The content was the information Wang Wei provided. It was about the importance of the lower dimension and his heavenly emperor era, and his deduction about how the transcendent age will shape up with the cardinal tribunal creating new envoy positions like the netherworld emperor. Ancestor, is this news true? Someone asked. Yes. Grand Elder Wang Wei has deduced all this information and received news from a trusted Yama king. Qiyuan nodded. Everyone glanced at Wang Wei for a few seconds, with some even nodding to him. We need to plan for the future now. For starters, we should increase our connection with the lower dimension, communicate with them more often, try to provide more resources within the rules, and recruit more talent. Recruiting more talent? Are you suggesting we send a projection to the lower dimension to bring recruited talents back? That's right. You think Heavenly Tao would allow this? Such a method would mean people from the lower dimension can ascend without powerful cultivation, ending the concept of separation between the lower and upper dimensions. Don't be too quick to dismiss the idea. Heavenly Tao should understand the importance of the lower dimension, and that what we are doing is the future trend of heaven and earth. So, maybe we can start a new precedent. Grand Elder Savage Body has a point. Plus, even if Heavenly Tao is uncooperative, we can designate one immortal sovereign in each generation to ascend and bring the recruited talents. Someone suggested. The rules stated that ascending immortals can bring people with them, so this was a way to achieve their goals. I agree with these suggestions, but I should remind everybody that with the upcoming disaster, the lower dimension will probably be isolated once again, Miscellaneous stated. We can start now before the blockage, setting up the foundation for later. I agree with this idea, but do we really need to start recruiting now? Grand Elder Wang Wei deduces that, in the future, the people in the lower dimension will have a higher chance of entering the quintessence realm. The key phrase is in the future. All eyes were on Wang Wei, waiting for his opinion. It's been more than 33 generations in the lower dimension, Wang Wei said calmly. By now, the mindset of all cultivators or heaven chosen has changed. The moment they start cultivating, they also start to plan what their legacy or minor construct will be after proving the Tao. So, yes, the effects should have already started. The elders mulled over his words, and soon afterward, many showed a look of envy. Imagine if they had started planning on how to build a construct, which is something crucial to Grand Tao Saints. At the age of 14 and 15, when they began cultivating, the benefits of such an advantage are immeasurable. Maybe we should start training our disciples with the same mindset, Yen Hai suggested. What do you have in mind? We apply a new system that, after proving the Tao, they must create a minor construct that either benefits the mortal civilization in our territory or the sect in general. We grade the final product and reward based on the effect. But wouldn't such a move alarm the other factions? Someone asked. I doubt it will be much of an issue, Qiyuan said. Few people will be able to deduce that a grand construct is the key to becoming a Grand Tao Saint. And even if they did, they might not be able to connect it to what the Tao opening sect or the lower dimension is doing. More importantly, their sect is known for trying different methods of training their disciple. So many people will think as such for a while. By the time everybody catches up, they will have an overwhelming advantage. What do you think? Yen Hai said, looking at Wang Wei. I support the idea, but I think our focus should be on the lower dimension. You don't think the effect will be the same? It won't. Wang Wei replied, a little too reassured. The concept of creating a minor construct has become a cultural zeitgeist in the lower dimension. Everyone wants to do it because it's the way for them to achieve fame, wealth, and to be forever immortalized in the annals of history. I would not be surprised if there is already a trend of selling or stealing other people's ideas for constructs. That's how vital and ingrained the process will be to the lower dimension. And you seem to have overlooked what makes these things minor construct. Heavenly Tao accepts these dimensions and fuses them as an essential part of the world, granting the creator passive knowledge of the essence of a heaven and earth construct. In other words, the one our disciple would create would be mere copies, and not valid constructs, unless heaven and earth acknowledge them. I'm not even mentioning other things like the merit received for the achievement and the blessing of destiny of the Heavenly Emperor era. We could do our best to make our disciples here have a similar mindset and benefit, but it will not be the same. Wang Wei built the dream world and the Heavenly Emperor system, and during his retreat, he also learned the essence and advantages of these minor constructs. He plans to use the knowledge he received from the minor construct to help him create his flawed Tao quintessence. The room entered a momentary silence due Wang Wei's words. Everyone frowned or had a pondering look, especially the sect members with origins in the upper dimension. In that case, why don't we send our disciples to cultivate in the lower dimension? Grand Elder Li Shengzong said. Wouldn't that cause more problems? We want to set a positive trend for heavenly Tao. But if we start interfering with the prosperity of the lower dimension, we will probably be punished instead of being granted an exception. We don't have to send many people. We can choose the most talented and send them when they are still mortals, forcing them to grow from the lowest level. We can even ask them to only compete in the heaven wills of foreign worlds and leave the myriad emperor world alone. Li Shengzong continued. It could help if their people stay away from the destiny center of the lower dimension. We can try and see heavenly Dao's response, Miscellaneous said. However, I recommend we send projections to try and study these minor constructs. We may benefit more from this approach. That's not a bad idea. However, Grand Tao will not appreciate so many projections, even if we were to seal our strength to the limit of the lower dimension. So, how about a schedule? Turtle Shell suggested. I agree. In that case, let's create a concrete plan. Chiyuan nodded. Everyone discussed and created a concrete plan for all the previously discussed topics. The council then elected individuals who would execute these resolutions and planned a reward for them in recognition of their work. However, the meeting was not over, as they had only discussed the issue of the lower dimension. The next topic was the division of the transcendent age and the role of the cardinal tribunal. And the person who started the conversation was Hell Judgment. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1547. The Elder Council. Finale. You mentioned that the Earth Emperor position will be a way to condense the soul quintessence? Hell Judgment asked. That's my theory. Wang Wei nodded. In that case, I want the sect's support to compete for the position. Are you sure? You saw my deduction on the limits and restrictions on that path. Wang Wei said. Many people are hopeful for the future, thinking they can one day become a primordial chaos saint. However, I am a realist. I know the barrier for the next realm will be 1,000,000 times more challenging than the Paragon realm. Hell Judgment allowed his words to simmer. Will it be easy to enter the next realm? No one dares say that. Many people are optimistic, but realistically speaking, the number of people in the room qualified for that level can only be counted on one hand. I understand my limit, Hell Judgment continued. His words contained no self-deprecation, just assurance in who he was as a person. This path is my best chance at transcendence. His words plundered the room into a deep silence for a few minutes. He forced many people to reevaluate their future and how they can survive or thrive during the disaster or the transcendent age. If my theory is correct, Wang Wei said, heavily emphasizing the if part, it will be in the sect's favor to have someone controlling one of these positions, especially the one in the Eternal Ascension world. So, I support you. And as fate would have it, someone with deep connection to me and the Wang clan may be the one chosen to be the Netherworld Emperor. If they succeed, your chances of becoming the Earth Emperor should increase. Hell Judgment's eyes shine. The Netherworld Emperor? Who? I can't say any more since it's not guaranteed. Plus, it's not wise to get into the Yama King's affairs at this current state. I understand, Hell Judgment nodded. Since the sect is supporting people to compete for these positions, can we receive support for competing in other regions? Someone asked. According to Grand Elder Wang Wei's prediction, there will be 5 regions: Central, North, South, East, and West. A few people without confidence also wanted to try to compete in other regions. I understand everybody's enthusiasm, and we will support capable individuals to compete for these positions. But don't forget we are still acting on a theoretical level. I don't want you to get too excited, and the information is wrong, Chiyuan warned. That is true, but we can start preparing. Elder Wang Wei, do you have any theories on how the tests for these positions will be conducted? Yen Shurong asked. He felt these karmic positions might be an excellent backup plan for him. Although he was confident in himself, he also wanted a way out in case the normal transcendent path did not work. Unfortunately, there is too little information to go on. However, we may get more information from Li Jun once he returns, Wang Wei said. Most of the people in the room were familiar with the name Li Jun, as he was famous for being one of the 3 original clan stars. Wang Wei was already an anomaly, but people were shocked when Yan Liling, the new ascended, was granted the position of the Yan clan matriarch after entering the Empyrean realm peak. That decision itself is not shocking, as it is common to give the position to talented people to ensure their luck is entangled with the sect or the clan's destiny. The shocking part was the rumor that Wang Wei and Yan Liling would remain in their positions until they became primordial saints. Moreover, they also heard rumors that Li Jun would receive the same treatment once he arrived. These people were not stupid and understood that these rumors were just a way to prepare everyone else for when the news was officially announced. As such, Li Jun has been in the upper echelons of the sect for a while now. And when is he showing up? That's hard to deduce or divine since Samsara currently protects his information. Wang Wei replied truthfully. Is that so? Yan Shurong sighed softly. Can you at least give us a time reference or a hint on when we can have more faith in this theory? Another Grand Elder asked. Hell Judgment's words were a wake-up call to many of them who were still living on the confidence from the ultimate taboo. These people might have been prideful enough to refuse a flawed method, or most likely failed even to get one, but a restrictive path of transcendence was still acceptable. According to my calculation, the transcendent age will officially begin when the first primordial chaos, saint from our world, is born during the catastrophe. Wang Wei's words made these elders squint. His words hold many truths. The birth of the first quintessence realm powerhouse will officially elevate the Eternal Ascension world into the destiny center of the Chaos universe, which is the ideal time to end the Paragon Age and begin the Transcendent Age. Once that happens, there should be rumors or signs about a new change to the Chaos universe. We might also notice more appearances or interventions of the Cardinals. That's when we'll know if my theory is correct. We don't have as much time as I thought, Yan Shurong muttered. Although the ultimate taboo was a failure, it also served as a valuable learning experience. Yan Shurong knew that many of the old primals may have already found their way forward and have made deep strides. With the pressure from the disaster, it won't be long before someone reaches that level. No, soon. It will be a competition to see who gets there first. No, we don't. Wang Wei nodded. The more reason we should do everything to prepare for the future, Qiyuan added. The meeting continued as everyone discussed, planned, and strategized for the upcoming disaster and new age. The entire meeting took more than a month, leaving less than 5 months until the Grand Assembly. Once the meeting ended, the ancestors left, and everyone formed small groups to discuss personal things. Wang Wei looked around to find a group to join, and noticed the 9 paragons from the lower dimension formed their own clique. He was about to join them when Grand Elder Li Shangzong walked toward him. I'm sorry to disturb you, but I have a small favor to ask, Li Shangzong said. Go ahead, Wang Wei said with a smile. How do I say this? The clan was looking forward to Li Jun's arrival, but he was still training with the Yama Kings. We have Li Wenling, who is also a great talent with enormous potential. I heard you have a few viable tokens for the mortalhood trial. I figure you were probably leaving them for Li Jun, but since he may not need them. Li Shangzong smiled, a little embarrassed. You want a token for Li Wenling? That's right, and I would offer you something in return, but with your current stage of cultivation and your sect access, I doubt the clan has anything worthy of exchange. How about this? I'll give you the token, and when the disaster starts, the clan or Li Wenling himself must repay merit equaling the value of the token, Wang Wei said. The disaster should have plenty of opportunity to gather merit, which makes this a fair deal. After all, although the token was meant for Li Jun and the Li clan, it was still his private property that the rules deemed he could do as he pleased. With the disaster, the ability to enter the Paragon realm at record time will become even more valuable with time. Wang Wei plans to slaughter a few people with the remaining 3 tokens. That's fair? Li Shangzong nodded. So Wang Wei handed him the token before joining the others. However, as soon as he approached, He felt all 7 of them had a weird aura that perfectly synchronized. "So, you also have it?" Miscellaneous said. "I thought that after failing to summon you, it would not have any effect." Wang Wei remembered that Qiyuan once used an array to summon all the original great emperors of the Tao opening sect to partake in the Second Origin War. However, something went wrong when they tried to summon the 10th emperor, Wang Wei. "What is this?" Wang Wei asked curiously. "It's the result of the 13 Great Origin Emperor Array. There are many benefits, like sharing strength, health, and even exchanging places during battle," Turtleshell explained. "It's the primary reason we survived the Second Origin War and the ultimate taboo." Wang Wei focused on the strange aura between them, and he soon detected these abilities. However, he also realized there was more to this ability than met the eye. This formation should not be only to link us, or even allow the ancestors to summon us to the past, Wang Wei commented. "We figured as much, but they never gave us a full explanation," Rainbow said. "Maybe they'll tell you," Miscellaneous added. "Maybe," Wang Wei muttered. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1548. The Truth About Battle Maniac. "You know, it's an honor to meet all of you. I grew up hearing your stories," Wang Wei said with a smile. "Haha, your tales are way more legendary than ours," Turtleshell laughed. "True. Now, you're more powerful than most of us," Miscellaneous sighed deeply. Wang Wei smiled politely. Among all of them, only Miscellaneous and Shadow Ruler had met one of the requirements to become primal, with the former being in the same realm as Wang Wei, and Shadow Ruler having met 2 of the 3 requirements. Turtleshell showed signs of reaching that level, but he wasn't quite there yet. Unfortunately, Rainbow and Hell Judgment were just peak paragons. "I would also like to thank you for sealing my identity as the Myriad Devourer," Wang Wei said. "It was the ancestors' decision. I just followed orders," Miscellaneous nodded. Regardless, Wang Wei nodded. This action might have saved him some trouble. "There is something I'm rather curious about, but I don't know if it's appropriate to ask. You want to know how we could travel through time without repercussions?" Turtleshell asked. "I want to know how you guys got away with it. Why don't you explain it?" Miscellaneous wanted to roll at this guy's audacity. Since he answered the question, why not explain? Regardless, he still gave Wang Wei an answer. "It started the same way for everyone. As soon as we ascended, we were given a strange cultivation technique and ordered to enter seclusion and not interact with anybody or anything from the outside world. The cultivation technique allowed us to summon our Tao imprint from the Grand Tao source and preserve it in a strange manner inside our sea of consciousness. Then, a magic circle appeared on the floor and teleported us through a turbulent journey through the river of time." Wang Wei listened attentively. "Once we arrived at our destination, the ancestors ordered us to take out the Tao imprint, and they somehow used it to give us another identity." "Another identity? I see. If you were technically someone else, then it removes the paradox of existing before you were born," Wang Wei commented. "Exactly. While that makes sense, it won't change the butterfly effect of traveling to the past in the first place. Your very presence in the past could have created effects that prevented your birth, and more, unless your timeline was protected from any cause and effect. I really like talking to people like you. It saves me a lot of effort." Miscellaneous nodded gently. Wang Wei smiled. "Was it easy to protect your timeline?" "No, it wasn't," Turtleshell replied. "We were given a list of events that were supposed to happen to us. Occasionally, we would return to the present and ensure that these events occurred, not to mention the time wraiths that would attack us on occasion. The entire situation was absurd. Our entire life was reduced to a checklist of things we were supposed to experience, but the entire thing felt like a sham," Rainbow said with a wry smile. "We were lucky that we did not travel that deep into the past compared to Ancestor Lee. Oh, by the time we ascended, it was the middle to end of the Second Origin War, and we traveled to the beginning of the war, which is not too long a period in the grand scheme of things," Miscellaneous explained. "The Second Origin War covered the entire Chaos universe. making it probably one of the longest and largest wars of the Paragon Age. So, it was indeed a short period compared to Li Ming, who was teleported to the First Origin War. Did you guys regret doing it? Wang Wei asked. I didn't. Hell Judgment finally said a word. It made me who I am today. I don't think I would easily reach this realm without that experience. Me too, Rainbow nodded. Too much fighting for my liking, Turtleshell responded. He never truly enjoyed fighting, which is why his Tao is primarily focused on defense. I'm half and half on the experience, Miscellaneous replied. It was fine, Shadow Ruler said. I see. Wang Wei nodded. The six of them chatted briefly before Wang Wei talked to a few other people, trying to get to know them. Then, he left the meeting room to teleport to Chiyuan's origin mountain. The mountain contained a large white river with 3,800 pillars, each containing an aura of a unique Tao. At the center of the white river was a luxurious, gold-white mansion, which was Wang Wei's destination. Chiyuan and Yan Hai were already waiting for him inside a simple room. Wang Wei found a cushion and sat down. How did you feel about your first meeting? Chiyuan asked. It was better than I expected, Wang Wei answered truthfully. Many of these elders were intelligent or had extensive experience, enabling them to analyze every situation in great detail. In the lower dimension, Wang Wei often had to take charge of meetings like this, leading most of the conversation. Now, he only had to give his insight a few times. You never had to because of how fast you grow and because I felt there was no need. But most elders must take an intense course in government and analysis after becoming a paragon. We design entire worlds for them to learn and gain experience, Chiyuan explained, having guessed what he was thinking. I remember reading about that. Wang Wei nodded. He saw that information in the introduction of the sect that he read. Such a program reminded me of the Imperial exam. That was one of the inspirations for its inception, Yan Hai said. Makes sense. So, why did you want to meet us? Chiyuan asked. During my retreat, I took a visit home and got some information that I wanted to share, Wang Wei said before sending the information about perfection, observer, and so on with them. Of course, he did not mention his conversation with Hongjun, Anansi, and Yahweh. My theory was right. The last trial was all the failed experiments of the first transcendent. It was called the Observer? Chiyuan muttered. Do you think the reason Grand Tao never erased these flawed methods despite them not fitting the proper way of transcendence is because she feared it would make the Observer mad? Yan Hai asked. Probably. Grand Tao might be bold enough to use something that belongs to a higher entity, but it would not dare erase any part of it, Chiyuan commented. However, he soon frowned. The question is, how did our array summon these flawed records? Grand Tao should have them locked in a secure place. Didn't you already have your suspicions? Yan Hai said calmly. Someone was using us as pawns. Their target was probably the entire record, but it failed in the end, summoning only the failed experiments or the discarded record. The question is who? Isn't it obvious? Chiyuan sneered. The Trinity Venerable, Yan Hai muttered. I've always been suspicious of how that spirit became angry during that test and cursed Brother Li, Chiyuan said with gritted teeth. What are you talking about? Wang Wei asked. Oh, right, you don't know, Chiyuan said. Originally, all three of us proved the Tao and became eternal. We grew together in the upper dimension and slowly established the sect. However, one day, while traveling in primordial chaos, we encountered the inheritance of what we now know was probably a primordial chaos saint. Maybe more. The Trinity Venerable? That's right. His legacy was all about spirit, essence, and chi, and it requires three people who are either linked deeply by blood or by cause and effect. Chiyuan was momentarily lost in thought. We needed two requirements before we could take the trial for the legacy. Yan Hai continued. We met the first one due to our brotherly bond, and the second one was a significant amount of destiny. So, we returned home and started the First Origin War. All three of you? Wang Wei asked with squinted eyes. Yes, all three of us. Yan Hai nodded. During the trial, the spirit became outraged because of something Brother Li did, and cursed him as a warning. We watched in horror as his timeline was forcibly altered. Instead of winning his heaven will battle, he lost and had to seal himself and compete again. What's more, he failed to become an eternal. Once he ascended, we had to use convoluted means to summon him to the past, ensure his growth. Before we could take him to the trial, Yen Hai sighed deeply. Forcibly changing the timeline of a paragon without any resistance? Is this the power of a transcendent saint? Wang Wei muttered. This was a plot all along, Qiyuan said with squinted eyes. The change in timeline was to create a paradox, a flaw in Grand Da's system. Even the fact that Brother Li failed to become an eternal was probably a means to use his heaven will to access the authority of Grand Dao. And with the flaw, the Trinity Venerable wanted to summon the Observer's records and find a way forward, Wang Wei added. That's right. We used the legacy to summon the ultimate taboo. But ultimately, we were just pawns for a larger plan, Qiyuan said with a wry smile. Honger told me you learned the method of summoning people in the past from a deal with the Time Cardinal. Is that true? That's the explanation for how I summoned Brother Li to the past after the timeline was rewritten. Qiyuan replied before thinking of something. Are you saying? The Trinity Venerable is either in cahoots with the Time Cardinal, or he is strong enough to use the latter as a pawn. A tribunal saint, Qiyuan muttered with a wry smile. He had to shell all desire for revenge now. Have you guys ever checked your existence? Wang Wei suddenly asked. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1549, marked, We did check ourselves with your artifact. Qiyuan nodded. And you didn't find anything? Not really. What about the actual technique? The artifact has certain limitations. Wang Wei added. Do you think your technique is easy to cultivate? It's not? No, you guys should have no issue learning it. You didn't tell us there was a requirement to have a transcendent foundation to learn, Yen Hai said, almost rolling her eyes. There is? No, it wasn't like that when we learned it. I'm guessing Grand Dao already placed a limit on the technique to prevent me from spreading it. Wang Wei muttered. That technique has enormous potential, so I understand why it would do that. Qiyuan nodded. You guys wouldn't have this issue if you followed my advice and entered the dark truth to cultivate the perfect foundation. Wang Wei shrugged. Boy, as much as we trust you, do you think we will blindly follow your words? Yen Hai sneered. You have no basis for your assumption that we will be fine. You saw nothing happen to Honger and me. We've studied the dark truth before you were even born. In its history, it's very common for people who are related to enter and only one to leave. No one has ever learned the criteria that determine a person's survival. All right, you make a fair point. Wang Wei stopped insisting. In that case, why don't you let me take a look? The two paused before looking at each other for a few seconds. All right, Qiyuan finally said, and Wang Wei's eyes glistened with joy. His eyes immediately glowed as he observed them intensely. He observed carefully but did not pry deeply into the meaning of the blueprint. Although these two trusted him enough to allow such an intimate action, he would not betray their trust by prying into their secrets. Well, that was what Wang Wei thought at first until he saw something related to him. He discovered something he had in connection with the two, which was the 13 Great Origin Emperor array and its function. The array's primary purpose was to establish a transcendent foundation. The concept of the array was the power of origin. The lower dimension sect is the origin of the Tao opening sect, the origin of Qiyuan's rise to power, and the origin of his future success. It also means that all the emperors from the lower dimension possessed this power of origin. Qiyuan's array would gather all 13 emperors of origin and use their power of origin to condense a transcendent foundation. However, this was not the end. Wang Wei discovered that he would use the Trinity Venerable's legacy, which connected him to Yen Hai and Battle Maniac, to share that foundation. Qiyuan would also return feedback to the other emperors, but Wang Wei discovered that the feedback could only raise the potential of others and not give them a transcendent foundation. In other words, it's useless to me. Father, Wang Chong, Dong Lifan and Kai Song, Wang Wei thought. Well, it was better than nothing. Anyway, Qiyuan's foundation was flawed since he failed to summon Wang Wei, and 11th to 13th emperors have not reached the peak of the Paragon realm yet. Besides the small part that Wang Wei pried on, he barely had a surface look on the other markings of the blueprint. He sensed he was missing something, but no matter how he tried, he could not find the answer. So, Wang Wei used a bit of his transcendent luck, his perfection aura, and his power of nothingness to boost his ocular technique. There it is. You found something? Yan Hai asked. The process of being observed was quite uncomfortable, especially since he was so closed and being so brazen. She forced herself to wait, but she was about to lose patience because of how long he was taking. Yes, there is something that does not belong. It's bad, and your situation seems even worse than my fate seed status. Qiyuan frowned. Can you show us? Sure. Wang Wei touched their forehead to share his vision, and the two saw their blueprints for the first time. The entire thing resembled an art project created by a group of 2-year-old children who had accidentally stolen a marker. It's strangely beautiful, Qiyuan commented. Indeed. Focus. This is the part I'm talking about, Wang Wei stated as he guided them to the anomaly he sensed. That feeling, it's indeed the power from the trial, Qiyuan muttered, a dangerous light flashing from his eyes. You should have let me cut off that spirit, Yan Hai said with gritted teeth, and Qiyuan just ignored her. After that display of power, everyone was scared of that spirit. So she was just talking big. Boy, I know you. You must have found a way to remove this thing. What did you do? Yan Hai immediately asked. I used the immemorial tribulation, but I don't think this method will work for you given how deeply entrenched the mark has been in your existence. Wang Wei replied truthfully. Damn it. Calm down. We still have hope, Qiyuan said calmly. What solution did you think of? Have you forgotten the exchange list? There should be a way to address this situation, or at least mitigate its impact. And if that doesn't work, well, head to Paragon Fall. Wang Wei remembered reading about Paragon Fall from his wife's library. It's a dangerous area in primordial chaos that is constantly raining lightning. The interesting thing about that zone is that it has all types of lightning, including the one used for the immemorial tribulation, and even more potent ones. That zone is considered the heaven of lightning cultivators. However, many people believe there is a great secret deep in the zone, forcing countless paragons to rush to find it. Unfortunately, no one has returned from going deep into that zone, hence the name, Paragon Fall. All right, Yan Hai sighed deeply. Thank you for this, Qiyuan said. No problem, Wang Wei nodded. Although he has many flaws, one of his good qualities is his belief in reciprocity. Many people like to deal with him because they know they will gain something in return. Wang Wei might take most of the proceeds, but they will also benefit. When it comes to his family and close friends, Wang Wei has always been even more magnanimous. One more thing. I acquired 3 new soul quintessence techniques during my trip, but I can only show you 2 of them due to their nature. However, you will need to wait a while until I process these techniques. Grand Dao can be a bitch about things from the prehistoric world. The room was immediately silent, baffling Wang Wei by their reaction. What? Is something the matter? So, you went into retreat and casually learned 3 transcendent techniques? Yan Hai asked. Well, yes. You. She was so frustrated thinking about how much effort they had spent to acquire a few flawed methods. However, since they returned, this kid acquired 4 complete techniques in less than 100,000 yuan epochs. Yan Hai exhaled to calm herself. She looked at Qiyuan and said, with every passing day, I understand more why you made that decision. Qiyuan chuckled. You would think you would stop questioning some of my sudden decisions after living together for so long. He smiled at Wang Wei. We have no issue with waiting. Good. Well, I have some last-minute preparation before the assembly, Wang Wei said as he slowly stood up. We know you're going to see my daughter-in-law, Yan Hai said with a smile. She gave him a thumbs up. Good job, kid. Wang Wei's lips twitched. He decided to ignore her. By the way, what happened to Dong Lifan? Why can't I sense her in the sect? An accident occurred during her ascension, Yan Hai replied. Oh? She was directly teleported to a hidden dimension with a fortunate encounter. However, After she passed the trials, she was teleported to another source chaos world. I sent someone to take her back. Is that so? Wang Wei muttered with a frown. What is it? I have a bad feeling about this. How about you send more people? I can go if that will appease your mind, Yan Hai suggested. It's probably not a good idea to leave the world anytime soon. Let's send the newly condensed proxy avatars, Qiyuan suggested. All right. What about her husband? Wang Wei asked. I sensed his karmic line. He's one of the top talents of his generation, having awakened one of the purest bloodlines, Yan Hai explained. That's good. Well, I'm off, Wang Wei said. Wait, don't forget to hand over your Grand Mist World, Yan Hai reminded. One of the resolutions/preparations for the disaster was the Grand Mist Plan. All Empyreans and above cultivators will hand over their Grand Mist World, and the sect will link them together to increase the manufacturing of creation lives as soldiers for the disaster. This plan has been a common tactic among top lineages in the upper dimension for some time during times of war. Linking all the Grand Mist worlds together boosts the number of creations one world can produce individually, and increases the chances of the creation life forms from passing their tribulation. Additionally, the world can form a network that the sect can loan to individuals for cultivating. Empyreans and above can boost their speed of cultivation by linking their mind to the soul of all the lives in their world. However, with the network, they will have access to thousands of worlds. Unfortunately, the array used for this tactic is expensive to operate, especially since it must protect the souls of their cultivators from being influenced by the multitude of minds. Otherwise, it would have become a common tactic used even in non-war times. Oh, right. Wang Wei nodded before teleporting away. He handed his Grand Mist World before teleporting away from the sect. Unlike what Yan Hai believed, he was not going to see Wu Hong. His destination was an old place with some history, the non-causality heaven. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1550. The Chessboard. Wang Wei has some karma with this place called the non-causality heaven. He once found a Dao Lord who was trying to enter the Paragon realm secretly, but he died and was turned into a karma puppet. Wang Wei stole the puppet and used it to improve his karma unbound physique. This place should have remembered me, so let's be careful, Wang Wei thought as he entered an invisible state with his power of nothingness. He also isolated all his causality to prevent this area from detecting him. He headed straight into the depths of this zone before summoning a chessboard. Anyone glancing at the board wouldn't be able to tell if it was based on Western chess, Go, Xianqi, or any of the chess games in the Eternal Ascension world. Wang Wei observed the board and nodded in satisfaction. His clone did an excellent job of using the Karma Jinx stone from his grandmother to refine this artifact. The last step is the pieces, Wang Wei thought. As he sat cross-legged in the void, with the board floating before him, he started drawing the power of the non-causality heaven to condense numerous circle chess pieces not bigger than a fingernail. Exactly 3,800 chess pieces were condensed on the board before something else started happening. Characters slowly materialized on the chess piece at the center, and it was the word for Kong. The chess pieces around the central one then changed to represent the characters of Lin Fan and Su Shi. Wang Wei hesitated a moment before condensing a piece for Bai Han. Wang Wei checked there were no issues before condensing more names. Most of the people he had met and had some karma with appeared as chess pieces, including figures like Ying Zhang and the Heavenly Serpent Empress. Should I add the ancestors? Besides his wife, the people in his sect were the only ones he did not condense a chess piece for. I don't need this to influence them, so better not. If his actions are discovered, it could complicate things, so it was better not to do it. Plus, he did not need the board to mobilize the power of his sect. Wang Wei's gaze then shifted to a group of pieces with vague characters. These names were all the primals of the other factions. While he had dealings with their faction, Wang Wei had never met them personally or formed deep karma with them. The assembly is the perfect time to condense these pieces, Wang Wei thought. He put the board inside his sea of consciousness, but he did not immediately leave. Instead, He condensed a new clone and handed him the negative karma from his time as the Myriad Devourer, tasking him to refine another weapon. Only did Wang Wei leave and return to the sect. He wanted to see his wife, but figured she was busy. So, he decided they could communicate with arrays when she had time. A few months passed quickly, and it was time to head to the Qin dynasty for the assembly. Is this really necessary? Wang Wei asked as he looked at this white-gold luxurious chariot with drawings of 3,800 unique beasts. These events are all about face and fanfare, so yes, we must make a grand entrance. My origin chariot has never failed to gather attention. Qiyuan smiled. You think this is too much? Wait until you see how those stupid gods will show up. Yan Hai sneered. I always figured you were the showy type. Wang Bo commented. I can be in a showy mood, but am more about being low-key most of the time. Wang Wei shrugged. After you? Qiyuan motioned with his hand. I've told you guys to stop to know your status. In the cultivation world, seniority is really nothing. Wang Bo sighed. It's never a bad idea to show the young ones an example of respecting their elders. Qiyuan smiled, staying in his position. That's why this kid is my new favorite. He doesn't care how much I've done for the sect. Wang Bo complained as he slowly entered the chariot. Qiyuan and everyone else gave him a look. Don't listen to him. I've shown plenty of respect. Wang Wei denied, his lips secretly twitching. This bastard. I bet he's secretly cursing me now. Wang Bo's voice echoed from the inside. That damn old man, Wang Wei cursed. If not for the current situation, he would have beaten him up. Qiyuan did not say anything and slowly entered. Yan Hai's eyes were practically shining with glee. Yan Shurong followed after her, but it was apparent he was trying to contain his laughter. Miscellaneous and Tang Song, an elderly array master with blue robes with runic symbols, pretended they hadn't heard anything. Meanwhile, Shadow Ruler was as silent as ever. Wang Wei entered after Yan Shurong, followed by the others. Once everyone was inside, the symbols on the side of the chariot became alive, condensing into phantoms indistinguishable from real creatures. Then, these rare and mythical creatures started driving the chariot, making the entire expedition even more grandiose than it was. The interior dimension of the chariot was obviously extended, allowing everyone to have their own room. The other elders secluded themselves, but Wang Wei, Wang Bo, Yan Hai, and Yan Shurong started drinking and talking together. Is that your chaos brew? It's been a while since I've had a taste. Wang Bo commented as he swallowed the contents of his wine bowl in a gulp. By heaven, the taste is better than I remember. The last time you had was before you sealed yourself, Qiyuan said as he slowly sipped. I've improved the refining process more than a dozen times by now. You first brewed this after what happened to Li Ming, right? You wanted to drink your problem, Wang Bo said as his wine cup automatically refilled itself. I know you blame yourself, but there wasn't anything you could do then. Wang Bo remembered the state Qiyuan was in when he woke him from his seal to talk. I know. Qiyuan nodded. After that conversation with Wang Wei, he understood what happened to Li Ming was a plot. It could have happened to either of them. Li Ming might have just been unlucky. I'm glad you overcame that mental barrier. Wang Bo nodded before looking at Wang Wei. Kid, why aren't you saying anything? Isn't the wine to your liking? Wang Wei glanced at him before continuing his own thing, which was enjoying his wine and observing the outside. His action made Wang Bo laugh boisterously. Kid, don't you know how to respect your elders? Do you want me to take out the bamboo? Yan Hai threatened. However, Wang Wei just rolled his eyes at her and ignored everybody. You! All right. Qiyuan calmed her down, and Yan Hai snorted coldly. After everyone was inside, the chariot teleported to the outskirts of the Qin dynasty's territory before flying toward the central domain. Wang Wei used this opportunity to check the situation of the dynasty. Things were nothing like what he expected. Firstly, he saw signs of his mortal civilization. Everywhere in the dynasty's territory, enlightened mortals can be seen, and even if they have not awakened their spiritual powers, their bodies have been modified to be healthy and live a long life. Wang Wei was not surprised by this outcome, as he had expected these factions to steal his idea. However, He did not expect Qin to incorporate so much of his civilization into their rules. Wang Wei even saw some mortal military using Tier 9 power armors. The second thing that surprised Wang Wei was the culture. The Qin dynasty played a crucial role in China's history. It served as the transition from feudalism to a centralized government, making Yingzhang one of the most famous emperors in modern history. However, the Qin dynasty was not without critics. That period was known for its harsh and strict laws. For example, the punishment for stealing was chopping the culprit's hands, no matter the amount of money involved. Additionally, the Qin dynasty is famous for its anti-Confucian stance. Yingzhang is infamous for banning and burning books and killing Confucian scholars. However, Wang Wei saw too many literary scholars in many places in the territory, many of whom hold high positions of power. Well, it makes sense he would change his views. Yingzhang supported legalism and rejected Confucianism because the latter had too much power in the court and among the people. However, in the cultivation world, Yingzhang now had godlike power, meaning no religion or ideology could threaten his power. So, it was in his best interest to use these ideologies as tools to rule and improve his dynasty. The journey took 3 days before the chariot reached the capital. A small battalion of soldiers dressed in black armor waited outside the capital, led by a woman in blue official clothes with a hat. Everyone slowly descended. "Welcome to Great Qin," the officer said with a bright smile. Wang Wei looked at her and recognized she was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Peak Paragon, Fan Shifeng. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1551. The Great Wall, Mistress Yanhai, Fan Zaifen bowed. Shifeng. Yanhai nodded. Before Shifeng joined the Qin dynasty and climbed her way to the top, Yanhai once supported her. Although they cut off their connection because Fan Shifeng wanted to show the human emperor her utmost loyalty, she still respected Yanhai for all the help she provided. Lord Qiyuan and Lord Yan, Fan Shifeng muttered, her voice laced with a little bit of unnaturalness. She couldn't help it. Yan Shurong used to be weaker and of a lower generation than her. But now, he was a primal, and she was still stuck in the same realm. Yan Shurong nodded. He never dealt personally with Fan Shifeng, so he did not feel too uncomfortable due to their sudden change in status. Fan Shifeng controlled her emotions before saluting everybody else. She had to pause before recognizing Wang Bo. Her rise was during the Second Origin War, so it took a while to remember the old, vital figures of the Dao opening sect. And you must be the rising star of this generation. Wang Wei. A pleasure, Wang Wei said calmly. You are so young and handsome, Fan Shifeng muttered. So I've been told. Interested in marrying a Qin princess? You can pick your share. Thanks for the offer, but he'll have to decline. Why? You must know the Qin princesses are some of the most beautiful women in the world, and you can pick any of them, Fan Shifeng insisted. I'm married to the Dao, Wang Wei replied. This woman was obviously trying to get some information about his relationship with Wu Hong. Married to the Dao? I think I'm going to use that from now on, Qiyuan chuckled. How much nonsense I could spare myself if I could use the excuse of being married to my sword. Yanhai shook her head. Being married to runes doesn't have the same appeal. Wang Bo laughed. Fan Shifeng observed these people for a moment before putting on a business smile. It's a shame, but I respect your choice. Now, let's get back to business. Fan Shifeng straightened up her posture. According to the Assembly Covenant, I'm here to announce in advance that we will deploy the Great Wall for this assembly. These words immediately made Qiyuan raise his eyebrow. Is this necessary? Strict security is always required during these assemblies, but no one ever goes as extreme as the Qin Saint Court. His Majesty feels there might be a chance that someone might attack the assembly, so he has chosen the highest security level to ensure Qin's reputation, Fan Shifeng explained. No overlord faction would accept the great shame of something going wrong during an assembly. So, the human emperor's caution makes sense logically. After all, for these factions, a bad reputation can decrease their faction's qi luck. I understand, Qiyuan nodded. Good. Will you use our accommodation, or make yours? We will make our own. No problem. Fan Shifeng nodded, not surprised by this choice. In the history of the world, not a single faction has ever accepted the accommodation of the lineage holding the assembly. Fan Xifen motioned for them to enter, and the team slowly walked through the entrance in the wall. The Qin's capital was called Ancestral Dragon City, and it was surrounded by an immense black wall more than 33,000 feet tall. And as Wang Wei walked through the entrance, he had a feeling this wall could become even more towering. What's the Great Wall? Wang Wei asked. This world's history was long, and he still hasn't learned everything in detail. Although he has heard these words before, and not just from Earth, he wanted to know more. It's a luck artifact of Qin, Qiyuan explained. It's primarily famous for two events. First, it saved Qin from destruction during the Devil's Conquest by protecting the capital for more than 100,000 yuan epoch. Qin had lost all its territory except the capital, but Xinjiang held on with the help of the Great Wall. They killed so many devils during that battle. I believe it was after that fight that Heavenly Dao started considering him for the human emperor position. It was that important? Wang Wei asked. The primogenitor devil might have sucked at using his artifact for his personal strength, but he was a master of using it to cultivate his devil subordinates. Wang Bo commented. True. Qiyuan nodded. He had previously crippled most other factions before focusing on Qin, wishing to eradicate it. By standing alone for more than 100,000 yuan epoch, Xinjiang bought everybody else enough time to recuperate from the previous heavy blow. Is that so? Wang Wei muttered. What's with your tone? Yan Hai asked. I realize that I have been looking at Xinjiang with so much suspicion that I may have not given him the credit he deserves. Wang Wei revealed. You should never underestimate your opponent, Qiyuan warned. I know that. Wang Wei nodded. He wasn't a young cultivator who needed to learn such basic lessons. It's just that he had some inherent cognitive bias about Xinjiang, which he had not completely removed. Anyway, he has always looked at Xinjiang as a major threat. So, what's the second event that made this Great Wall famous? It once helped us block a hole in the Hong protective system, Qiyuan revealed. The system had a hole? The early version was not the best since Wu Hong did it just to repay her karma, Yan Hai explained. And even later on, after she upgraded it, there were a few times we had to concentrate on defeating our home world. Wang Wei nodded. The group did not immediately set up their resting area. Instead, Miscellaneous and Tang Song discussed the most appropriate location to set up camp. The capital was divided into 5 regions: the palace, the military district, the noble district, the commoner district, and the commercial district. With their status, they could get a temporary lounge in the noble district where officers and nobles of the dynasty live. However, it was too close to the palace, which made it the worst place to make a temporary base. The palace and military area were out of the question, leaving the commoner and commercial district. Ultimately, the team decided on the commercial zone. The team bought a mansion, and Miscellaneous, Wang Bo, and Tang Song immediately started laying out arrays. While these people were at work, the remaining people were strategizing inside the reception room. What do you think of the Great Wall's deployment? Qiyuan asked, sitting comfortably on a cushion and drinking tea. Yan Hai and Yan Shirong sat next to him, but Wang Wei was standing, looking out of the window. Their excuse is sound, Wang Wei said. Oh, we know the disaster is most likely an invasion from entities of the old ages. Since it's an invasion, they must have sent reconnaissance troops to gather intelligence and sabotage any form of resistance. But you don't think this is the main reason for deploying the Great Wall? Qiyuan asked. No. My gut feeling is Xinjiang is going to make a great move at the assembly. And then what? Take us hostage if we disagree with him? Yan Shirong asked. Maybe. Does he dare do that with a primordial saint attending? You put too much faith in one transcendent sage, Wang Wei rebutted. Are you implying Xinjiang has a means to deal with Mithraea? Yan Hai asked. Wang Wei did not answer, but waved his hand to isolate the surroundings with his power of nothingness. Hongjun gave him a piece of a transcendent artifact, and I don't really know what level it is, but it's ancient and powerful, Wang Wei revealed. According to myths, the jade butterfly pendant was Hongzhen's accompanying artifact when he was the Destiny Chaos Demon God. Although Pangus' axe attack destroyed it, the fact that it survived in any form is an indication of how powerful it was. That's why Wang Wei was slightly convinced that Hongjun might be able to deal with a weak transcendent saint if he can bring out the power from the piece of the artifact. That information changes many things. Qiyuan frowned. Yingzheng's threat was far greater than he had anticipated. You should have told us this sooner, Yan Shurong added. Wang Wei looked at him, but did not say anything. Yan Shurong was technically correct, but Wang Wei did not regret his decision. He decides the value of the information he has and when to reveal it, and before now, it was in his best interest to keep this news to himself. We need to reevaluate how we approach the assembly, Qiyuan said. It will not change things as much as you think, Wang Wei said. Yingzheng is operating under the belief that Maitreya is at the bottom of strength among primordial saints, but that should no longer be the case. Qiyuan sighed deeply after hearing these words, not even hiding his dejection. Their sect used to be one of the most powerful voices in the assembly, but for this one, the only one who truly mattered was Maitreya's. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1552. The Cliche plot. Wang Wei understood how Qiyuan felt, but he did not appease since he made the wrong choice during the ultimate taboo. Someone should have sacrificed themselves for the future of the sect. Wang Wei guessed that Qiyuan ordered a few peak paragons to be the sacrificial pawn. However, based on the fact that only Maitreya and Supreme Unity successfully acquired a method, it's apparent that only the most talented individuals were qualified to fight for a flawed method. Sadly, all those top talents were too arrogant to accept such a path, and even the ones who could control their pride ultimately failed in their attempts. The transcendent path was not for everyone, and Wang Wei believes this is a lesson that many of the primals from both the old and new generations will learn soon. By the way, how is your negotiation with the Sword Path League? Wang Wei asked. I've signed an agreement with them, but they said they needed time to prepare my reward, Yan Hai replied. You didn't hand over the destiny before receiving the reward, right? Do you think I'm stupid? Just checking, Wang Wei said. Yan Hai snorted. Honestly, I was hoping I would get the reward before Heavenly Tao officially revealed the exchange list. The Sword League has no reason to believe you've made a bad faith deal with them based on your previous behavioral patterns. But even if they do suspect something, you'll be fine as long as you gather the merit faster than they can react. I understand that, but I feel the exchange list might complicate things. Yan Hai sighed. True. Wang Wei nodded. The exchange list is the ultimate variable, so he understood her worry. Well, I'm going to experience this city. Going to see your wife? Yan Hai teased. Wang Wei looked at her speechless. You do know that even if we're engaged, it doesn't mean our lives revolve around each other 24/7? Whatever you say, Yan Hai replied, her eyes indicating that she did not believe his words. Unlike you old people, I'm young and inexperienced, meaning I haven't seen what the city has to offer, Wang Wei explained before disappearing from the room. Did this bastard just call me old? Well, you better watch your words. Yan Hai snapped, and Qiyuan immediately swallowed his words. Yan Shurong, on the other hand, pretended he hadn't heard anything. Shurong, come and play civilization chess with me, Qiyuan said, trying to run away from his trouble. It's been a while since we last played. All right. Wang Wei walked in the streets full of beautiful buildings of a variety of colors. Ancestral Dragon City was a cultivator-only place despite most of the Qin dynasty's population being mortals. Recently, there has been an increase in mortals wearing power mortals, but their population is less than 1% of cultivators. Unlike the calm and peaceful commoner district, the commercial district was as lively as a circus. Almost everything can be found, from bathhouses to the Red District, to gambling, monster hunting, and stone opening. I'm feeling lucky, so let's open some luck stones, Wang Wei muttered before heading to the stone opening area. As soon as he stepped into the area, Wang Wei's lips twitched. He discovered more than 100 methods of suppressing luck, destiny, divination, karma, calculation, or ocular techniques. Sometimes I feel the cultivation civilization of this world is too advanced, Wang Wei complained. Events like this are the time for protagonists to make a fortune, but he has to fight for his life. He shook his head before browsing around. There were hundreds of tables with dark blue stones of various sizes. People would use numerous methods, including strange ones like licking the stone, to detect whether they have treasures. Wang Wei's eyes glowed as he used his technique to fight against Qin's. I want this one, Wang Wei said to the vendor, pointing to a rigged stone the size of a basketball. Customer, are you sure? This stone doesn't look like much. How about trying this one instead? The vendor, a middle-aged man in black robes with a greedy look in his eyes, said. Here's the money, Wang Wei said as he handed him a space ring with the correct number of Dao sources. Pleasure to do business with you. Would you like me to open it for you? No need. Wang Wei tapped the stone and the outer shell collapsed, revealing a brown tree root pulsating with green energy veins. A life-stealing root? The vendor exclaimed before his eyes flashed with greed and jealousy. However, he swiftly controlled himself. This was the Qin dynasty, where the laws were strictly enforced. Additionally, the way the customer casually opened the stone was a sign of the latter's terrifying strength. Luck stones are created using an ancient technique from the Tribulation era, with the sole purpose of preserving things. That period was turbulent, so this technique was used widely to preserve resources and legacies for the future. The stone's exterior was created to survive immense power, and a delicate process was needed to remove the shell without affecting what was inside. Yet, this customer did it so effortlessly, a sign of his strength and control. Do you want to buy another one? Wang Wei ignored this man and everyone who was staring. The life-stealing root was a Tier 12 material sought after by alchemists and individuals who cultivated wood and practiced the Devour Dao. Its value was 3 times what Wang Wei paid for the rock. The second rock he opened contained a small amount of gold merit, which placed a deep smile on Wang Wei's face. However, even more people were not paying attention to him. One more, Wang Wei thought before observing around. He ignored the people following him around. He soon had his eyes on a rock and walked over. However, immediately after touching the stone, someone else reached out to hold it. Wang Wei was immediately excited, thinking he was about to experience a face-slapping event. He turned to look at this small villain, and his excitement increased. Handsome face, noble atmosphere, luxurious but low-key robes, peak paragon cultivation, 2 followers, a squinting eye and a silent shadow type, and finally, a hidden arrogance. This man was the perfect villain template. Young sir, may I have the honor of paying for this stone for you? Said the charming villain. Oh, why would you do that? I like to make friends. It turns out to be the plot of friending the protagonist for him to help the prince ascend to the throne later on, Wang Wei thought, a little disappointed. With one look at this man, he could tell he was a Qin prince. What's more, he could already foresee fate's machination. This prince was probably tired of his father, who had absolute power over the dynasty for billions of years. He appeared before Wang Wei because fate thought he might be an interesting pawn. Well, let's see if he will be valuable, Wang Wei thought. A new name appeared on the chessboard in his sea of consciousness. Yongrui? What an interesting name. The prince's first name meant to be forever blessed, to be eternally lucky. Wang Wei wondered if he was worthy of his luck. As it turns out, I also like to make friends. Wang Wei smiled. That's good to hear. Yongrui nodded before paying the vendor. Wang Wei opened the stone, revealing what resembled a white core with red grass growing on top. Numerous eyes were on this thing, but everyone had a puzzled look. Friend, I consider myself knowledgeable, but I don't recognize what this herb is. Do you have any idea? Yongrui said. I also have no idea what this is, Wang Wei replied. But let's check. His eyes suddenly glowed silver as he channeled the power of fate. A smile crept on his face a few seconds later as he placed the herb inside a conjured jade box before putting it inside his dimension. How fortuitous, Wang Wei muttered. His divination revealed that Yen Liling can use this herb to create a pill that helps people recondense their gate of ascension. Although he didn't need it, this herb can become a crucial material for the sect if Yen Liling can successfully reproduce and plant it. Ing Yongrui desperately wanted to ask, but he saw Wang Wei had no interest in speaking, so he controlled himself. The squinty-eyed follower wanted to say something, but the prince warned him through divine sense. "Friend, how about a meal? So direct." "Huh? Well, why not?" Wang Wei smiled. "I have a reserved room at the Dragon Phoenix restaurant." Dragon Phoenix restaurant? That's a rather arrogant name to have in a place like this, Wang Wei commented. Dragons and phoenixes were the symbols of emperors and empresses. The owner used to be the royal chef a long time ago. After he retired, the human emperor blessed him with that name, Ing Yongrui explained. "In that case, I can raise my expectations for the food." Wang Wei nodded. He hopped in Ing Yongrui's chariot as they headed to the restaurant. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1553. A quiet but intense negotiation. Wang Wei and Ing Yongrui had a normal and regular conversation while eating great food. Although not on the level of his wife's, the food was top tier. Ing Yongrui was a charming man and a great conversationalist. Wang Wei was a chameleon, able to mold himself into anything for the situation. So, the two enjoyed chatting with each other before departing. Ing Yongrui stayed in a well-decorated red and blue room, calmly watching Wang Wei leave. His two followers immediately entered. "Your Highness, is this really a wise move?" the squinty-eyed follower asked. "My father has started to suspect something. I need to throw him off," Ing Yongrui said calmly. "But won't that make your situation worse? Now is the worst time for something to happen to a prince as famous as I," Ing Yongrui said. "More importantly, my father has become extremely confident recently. He operates with the mindset that everything is under control, including me. So, I should be safe for a while." "If you say so, sir." "Black Dagger," Ing Yongrui called. "I'm at your service," said the quiet follower. "Go find the Grand Historian to see if he knows what herb my new friend found," Ing Yongrui ordered. By now, the news should have spread, meaning countless people were searching records to find the answer. "As you wish." Black Dagger disappeared from sight, and the squinty-eyed one remained quiet. Ing Yongrui looked through the window, deep in thought. He was playing a dangerous game, but he had no choice. He wants to sit on that throne, and that damn controlling father won't even allow him to build his own dynasty in another source world. Wang Wei had a thoughtful look on his face. The prince tried his best to act normal and hide all his information. In fact, Wang Wei could not see anything from him, but that alone revealed a great deal of information. Something tells me the power involved has nothing to do with Ing Zhang's jade butterfly pendant. In other words, this prince is some foreign transcendent faction's pawn. Things are getting interesting. Wang Wei looked around. After that meal, he suddenly wanted some entertainment, especially the battle arena. However, as soon as he had this thought, Wang Wei took a mental pause despite not physically stopping. Someone has manipulated luck to direct me to the arena. Interesting, Wang Wei thought. He had an inkling who was behind this, so he did not hesitate to allow fate to guide him. He soon reached a black pagoda and entered. The beautiful receptionist asked him if he was a competitor or observer. Wang Wei wanted to be entertained, so he bought one of the best rooms. He received a token that immediately teleported him to a luxurious room. The token released a screen to show him the available battles. There was no peak Paragon battle, but a few Paragon battles were going on, so he chose one. His room changed, and Wang Wei found himself in a private room that separated itself with an invisible film, with an enormous arena on the opposite side. The crowd screamed while the two contestants fought inside a potent magical barrier. Wang Wei conjured a lounging chair to relax as he watched the spectacle. The battle was between a loose cultivator and a lava spirit. With a single look, Wang Wei could tell the loose cultivator would lose without any unexpected variable, so he bet on the latter. He also ordered the most precious wine in this establishment to enjoy himself. The battle proceeded as he expected. and Wang Wei casually received his reward from the pagoda spirit. While waiting for the next match, he suddenly sensed something, and his eyes penetrated the pagoda. "The Tao beginning palace is here," Wang Wei muttered. A group of Taoists flying on beautiful clouds with sounds of the Tao following them rushed to the city's entrance. They had 2 leaders in the front, with 3 others at the back. Wang Wei squinted. The first thing he noticed was a new primal from Taoism. Secondly, he also recognized the other leader. Absolute beginning. Has he returned to power? Well, Taoism needs all the help it can get. Wang Wei's focused to the people behind. It seems that girl is doing well for herself. Zhen Biyu was part of this delegation, which was odd given that her cultivation was only 94%. Zhen Biyu used Taoism's weakness after the war to rise in the ranks and take power. It seemed she had not lost that power even after the ancestors returned. He did not focus too much on Taoism's arrival, since there was not much to pay attention to. The second match soon began, and Wang Wei placed his bet. Ultimately, he was still correct. "You're late," he suddenly said as he swirled his wine cup before taking a sip. "So, you were expecting me?" said a deep voice. "What do you think?" Wang Wei replied casually. "Do you want to sit?" He conjured another seat next to him. "No need," Ingzhang said as he stood straight, with his black robe with perfect embroidery of a yellow dragon that appeared to come alive if you look at it closely enough. "I'm sorry about my son," Ingzhang said in his deep, authoritative voice. "As a parent, sometimes we can do our best, and it's not enough. I don't have children myself, but I can understand." Wang Wei nodded. The room then plunged into an intense silence for a few minutes. Ingzhang remained calm and stoic, while Wang Wei continued to enjoy himself. "I came to make a deal with you. This should be interesting," Wang Wei smiled. "However, you're wasting your time if you're here regarding my half of the nether hell." "No, that's not it." "Then, is it about Hong's location?" "My response is the same. I have no idea," Wang Wei added. "Not that either." "Oh? Now, I'm intrigued." Ingzhang did not immediately say, and Wang Wei did not rush him. On the contrary, he acted as if he had all the time in the world. "I want your support for a proposition during the assembly," Ingzhang said slowly. "Well, that's unexpected. What proposition?" "You don't need to know. You only need to sign a binding agreement that you and your sect will support me." "Do you really expect me to agree to this? And even if I wanted to, it appeared you wanted me to represent the sect." Wang Wei looked at him as if he was a fool. "I know you can be persuasive if you need to," Ingzhang replied, his eyes remaining focused on the arena. "I want to hear you're going to make me agree with such a unique request." Wang Wei decided to be nice and not call it stupid. "War is quite an interesting thing, isn't it?" Ingzhang said. "I have my fair share of experience in conducting war. Let's say I was invading a place. Do you know what one of my main priorities would be? Eliminate any threats that could impede my conquest, especially if that threat has the potential of a grand Tao saint." That bastard did remember how Wu Hong sealed supreme unity, Wang Wei thought. He calmly sipped his wine. "So, this is blackmail instead of negotiation." "You don't have to see it that way," Ingzhang stated. "My proposition will benefit everybody. I'm only doing this out of cautiousness." "So you say," Wang Wei sneered. "What do you say?" "It's a great deal. You benefit from my position, and in return, I keep my mouth shut." "Aren't you afraid of being labeled a traitor?" Wang Wei asked. "By who?" Ingzhang scoffed. "Everybody is preparing to work together to survive this disaster, while secretly planning how to weaken their competitors. The ironic part is Heavenly Tao, the entity who should be encouraging unity, is also encouraging this discourse." Ingzhang was right. Heavenly Tao wants to use this disaster to reshuffle the board, while also wishing for some factions to survive this disaster and rise to the occasion. These goals appeared mutually exclusive, but they were not entirely. It's possible to achieve as long as Heavenly Tao plays its cards carefully. "Do you need time to think it over? I can come back tomorrow." Mutually assured self-destruction is an interesting concept, Wang Wei said. "I coined the term myself, but the concept is deeply ingrained in the fabric of the cultivator world. The weakest cultivator knows to try to take their opponent with them when they are on the verge of defeat or death. What are you trying to say? Ing Zhang said as he finally glanced at Wang Wei since he entered the room. When most people analyzed my information, they usually focused on my talent or my mind. Wang Wei said while looking at Ing Zhang with a grin. They rarely noticed why I'm truly dangerous. My power of fate. My ability to peer into the veil of destiny and my capabilities to deduce from the smallest information are a scary thing. So, tell me, Ing Zhang, do you think our invaders would be interested in your little artifact? A shock flashed deep in Ing Zhang's eyes, but he remained calm, with no change in facial expression. Yes, I'm talking about the one you probably received from your first life in the prehistoric world. A mighty aura leaked from Ing Zhang's body before it quickly retreated. You keep your mouth shut, and I keep quiet. Do we have an understanding? Ing Zhang quietly looked at him before disappearing from the room. I'll take that as a yes, Wang Wei muttered before sipping his wine. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1554. The chessboard's role. Ing Zhang sat on a black throne surrounded by a profound darkness created by his terrible mood. He was reading a scroll intently, which contained a detailed analysis about Wang Wei. It contained information from the lower dimension, but all the events he participated in or is suspected of being involved in. He was right to say people don't focus on his divination ability, Ing Zhang thought. However, can I really trust his words? Ing Zhang was perfectly aware that Hong Jun would not just give up after him, and if the latter could reincarnate one person, he could reincarnate others as well. He's been keeping an eye out for signs of people from the prehistoric world. What are the chances of two people being reincarnated in the same world? Probability-wise, it was low unless someone was controlling it. However, Ing Zhang knew he was not supposed to be in the Eternal Ascension world. He came here after deducing his transcendent path was in this place. Since I can predict early on the rise of the Eternal Ascension world, Hong Jun can do an even better job. It would make sense for him to send a pawn. Ing Zhang paused as he realized something he had overlooked. He focused his attention on the information about Wang Wei's heavenly court. I should have caught it before, Ing Zhang thought with an ugly expression. The way Wang Wei set up his court was eerily similar to the stories Ing Zhang knew about the Jade Emperor and his heavenly court. Back on Earth, Ing Zhang was once obsessed with immortality and searched everywhere for it. He studied myths and legends, learning about the immortals of the past. Unfortunately, it wasn't until his death that Hong Jun summoned his soul that he finally contacted extraordinary powers. Now that I know he's one of Hong Jun's lapdogs, I must eradicate him, Ing Zhang thought. A deep killing intent flashed in his eyes, turning the throne room a deep shade of red. After many years of caution, planning, and due to a fortunate encounter in the ultimate taboo, he was now confident he had absolute control over the jade butterfly pendant. Ing Zhang planned to become a primordial chaos saint before confronting Hong Jun, possibly even reclaiming the entire pendant from him. But now, he knew one of the latter's lapdogs might be in his territory, trying to get him to succumb to Hong Jun. Ing Zhang dismissed the scroll in his hand before sitting straight. For the next 2 hours, he remained still, thinking only about his enemy and his future. This new revelation has altered some of his plans, so he has taken this time for a more thorough analysis. What's the result of the investigation? Ing Zhang suddenly said. The herb is an extinct material called the core grass. It was used for body-refining pills, primarily for the opening of the gates. A deep voice responded. It doesn't sound too valuable, so why was he so excited? Ing Zhang muttered. Keep searching to see if there are any secrets to this herb. As you wish. Go investigate my second son to antagonize his elder brother. I need to give him something to do so he doesn't ruin the assembly, Ing Zhang ordered. The prince title of Qin is not based on birth. After all, Ing Zhang had too many of those. It's decided on strength, and unfortunately, Ing Yongrui has kept the first prince position for too long, which has gotten to his head. Yes, Lord. Wang Wei sighed as he looked at the battle in the arena. He's probably going to figure it out. Many people have already figured out he was reincarnated because of how he acts and the things he created in the lower dimension. These people are not stupid. It's one thing to have a few wonderful ideas, but something entirely different to have so many. And on top of it all, these ideas and concepts have already been perfected upon their initial creation. The only logical explanation is that those ideas are from another civilization who have already perfected them, and Wang Wei translated them to fit this world. With Ying Zhang's suspicious nature, he will start analyzing Wang Wei, and it's only a matter of time until he figures out the truth since Wang Wei has left too many traces, especially in the lower dimension. However, he did not regret his choice. It's a worthy trade to protect Hongmeng. Plus, Ying Zhang and I were destined to clash anyway. This just raises the stakes. Wang Wei sipped his wine. The battle suddenly became interesting, and he was about to leave when he sensed something. "It's good to see you." Someone slowly ascended from his shadow. Red Mask bowed. "How are you, Master? Did you forget about me?" "Of course not," Wang Wei said, his body shifting slightly uncomfortably. "Then, why haven't you summoned me?" Wang Wei coughed lightly. "I knew you should be receiving the feedback from my cultivation retreat, and decided not to bother you. Plus, didn't I assign you a task?" Red Mask looked at him, but did not say anything. "I've shifted to all the memories. And the majority are useless and a portion contains useful knowledge, mainly about skills and techniques. No useful intelligence? Our divination has indicated that most of the intel was events that have occurred long ago, rendering them useless," Red Mask reported. "However, we found a few secrets about fortunate encounters in primordial chaos, and 2 of them have been verified to still be useful. It'll give you a proxy avatar. Give him the coordinates and he'll check these areas," Wang Wei immediately said. He figured if he did not act sooner, that bastard heavenly book might take these fortunate encounters. "Very well. Do you have anything to report?" Wang Wei asked. "A plethora of things," Red Mask replied, not hiding the accusation in her tone. "I'm listening," Wang Wei said, ignoring her complaint. "The initial integration of the Stealer's knowledge into our guard has been successful. Since then, our operation's success has increased by 37%. That's good to hear, but why is it only the initial integration? It takes time to train people capable of learning the new fate-stealing technique," Red Mask explained. "More importantly, my talent is limited, and you need to perfect the technique." She handed him a talisman not only containing the fate-stealing technique, but also a detailed explanation of the new training programs she created for the Fate Shadow Guards. "No problem," Wang Wei nodded. "Now for the main report," Red Mask continued. "The pre-March Origin Temple has been uncharacteristically quiet. Meanwhile, the tribal sacred mountain is preparing for full-scale war." "When you say war, do you mean with the temple?" "That's right. They've disguised it as preparation for the disaster, but subtle signs indicate it's to fight their old enemy." "So, the tension is rising," Wang Wei muttered. He wondered whether they would start fighting before the catastrophe or wait after. "Our people have detected a secret meeting between the Divine Faith Heaven and the Limitless Exchange Hall. There are talks of a secret alliance." "You've actually got such valuable news?" "It's way easier for our guard to steal a person's fate and their identity, and many previous detection methods that used to work on us are now useless," Red Mask explained. "It seems I did not fully realize the value of Jimin's thief Dao," Wang Wei muttered. "Who initiated this alliance, and how far have the talks gone?" "The Divine Faith Haven initiated it. The Limitless Exchange Hall is open to the idea, but they want to wait after the assembly before making a decision. It seems those weaker overlords are starting to feel the pressure, and decided to band together," Wang Wei analyzed. He squinted his eyes while sipping his wine. "We can't allow them to ally. I can assassinate one of the negotiators and leave subtle proof that another overlord did it," Red Mask suggested. "No, that's too obvious. I can make it look like someone from these respective factions that do not want the alliance," Red Mask suggested. "Unless you could impersonate one of the primals, your plan would only delay the alliance." Wang Wei shook his head. Red Mask had run out of ideas. While the Lord Shadow technique was magnificent, it only reached the Paragon Peak realm. The ancestors have tried with no success to upgrade it, meaning she cannot access that power until Shadow Ruler becomes a primal, or one of the ancestors becomes a primordial saint. Don't worry, I have a better idea. Wang Wei smiled before summoning his chessboard. He glanced at the chess piece with Tong Rubing's name and pointed at it. Far away, in the Skill Path Association's territory, Tong Ruobing, who was waiting for the result of the assembly, suddenly had an idea. Wouldn't it be great to ally with the Limitless Exchange Hall? These loose cultivators are always in need of resources, and the one thing their association never lacked was resources. Professionals require raw resources to refine them into pills, talismans, arrays, etc. However, the process of finding these raw resources can be dangerous and time-consuming. The best solution would be to have a large group of people collect raw resources in exchange for a small portion of the final product. The disaster is coming, and forming such a strategic alliance will benefit both sides, Tong Ruobing thought. After mulling it over for a while, she left her room to see someone to suggest this idea. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1555. The Unification's Importance. Wang Wei smiled. Between the Skill Path Association and the Divine Faith Have, which one was a better ally for the Limitless Exchange Hall? The answer was obvious. These gods are dreaming if they think they can escape their eventual fate. After the assembly, the association will start discussing an alliance with the Exchange Hall. Use your people inside the haven to antagonize these two. Make it look like they want to stop the alliance. Before revealing the haven's plan was to swallow the Exchange Hall all along. Wang Wei did not want a situation in which these three factions formed an alliance, so he needed to muddle the situation between them. I understand, Red Mask said. Wang Wei observed his chessboard. The way the idea was implanted was kind of sudden, which can make some people suspicious. It would be better if I could implant them in their subconscious. And it suddenly appeared at the appropriate time, just like a sudden epiphany. Wang Wei raised his arm to release a golden glow as he slowly fine-tuned this artifact. The process only took him about 2 hours, but he was satisfied with the final result. You can continue? Wang Wei suddenly felt a shift in the universe. No, it wasn't just him, but everyone in Ancestral Dragon City. This feeling? Wang Wei muttered before looking in the distance. All the laws between heaven and earth suddenly became agitated before lowering their sense of presence. It was like a lion king suddenly appearing before its flock, and everybody quieted down due to its sheer presence. Methreya, Wang Wei muttered. For people slowly approached the city. Methreya was walking while happily chatting with her 2 disciples, Monk Wuzhu and Feng Hong. Another primal thread behind, keeping a respectful distance. Another new one, Wang Wei thought. Both Buddhism and Taoism previously had 3.5 primals, with the half part resulting from the acquisition of the luck and destiny of ancient Taoism and Buddhism, and condensing them into a powerful protective artifact. Although limited to only being used when these religions are in great peril, it was still an advantage. However, now, they both acquired a new primal. Which other factions have recently cultivated new primals? Wang Wei suddenly asked. Besides us, only the Origin Seal continent, Buddhism and Taoism, Red Mask responded. No more? Are you sure they are not hiding it? I doubt that. The disaster is coming, so it's most advantageous for them to improve their luck and destiny, Red Mask responded. Our information has revealed many people in retreat trying to achieve that level, but only the 4 have succeeded so far. Is that so? Lord, why the sudden interest? It's only a matter of time before primals become as common as dogs, Wang Wei explained. However, currently, the fact that only 4 factions have succeeded is a manifestation of luck. Buddhism and Taoism benefit from Methreya and Supreme Unity's existence. Our sect receives the benefits for successfully summoning the ultimate taboo, and the Origin Seal continent is riding on Wu Hong's talent and potential. Once these people realize this, all eyes will be on the continent. I could take the identity of a peak paragon of one of the overlords and fake ascending to the primal level. That could buy you time, Red Mask suggested. Her duty was to help her lord and offer solutions. No need, Wang Wei rejected. With his mastery of luck Dao and enough preparation, he could fake the birth of a new primal. However, such a plan requires too much preparation and carefulness to execute, making it too easy for something to go wrong. More importantly, the disaster will start in less than 30,000 yuan epoch, meaning these factions won't have time to be staring at the origin seal continent. And if push comes to shove, he'll do something to distract them. Wang Wei took one last look at Wuzhou and Feng Heng. A slight jealousy flashed in his eyes. These bastards had access to the best time acceleration array in the world, and now, their cultivation was the same as his. All right, what were you reporting? The Grand Sect Alliance has been on the move. They were the first to arrive, and every time a faction arrived, they openly visited, except for us. Are they trying to gather support to pressure us about the exchange list? What a pointless endeavor, Wang Wei sneered. The Grand Sect Alliance has always considered the Dao opening sect their greatest threat. Maybe not entirely, Red Mask added. One of their delegates is from the Een Moon Palace. So, their target is Kong? No, not just Kong, but Mithreya. They want to see how much she's willing to protect him, and maybe even how much power she will exert in the meeting. Mithreya might be the most powerful entity in the world, but she's also a king's soul. Without enough support, it's not impossible for the Grand Sect Alliance to use her kindness to get her to back down on certain topics. I'm guessing Dugu Baitian showed up himself? He's the one leading all the meetings. That bastard has always viewed himself as a domineering, but charismatic leader, Wang Wei sneered. In hindsight, the way Dugu Baitian views himself is true. Only with his strength and charisma did he successfully convince so many factions to join and accept him as their leader. However, while Dugu Baitian is responsible for the creation of the alliance, he is also its greatest weakness. As long as something happens to him, the Grand Sect Alliance will crumble from internal contradictions. Everybody knows this and is waiting for an opportunity to remove him from the equation. In fact, there may even be some people within his alliance who are scheming for his demise. Keep an eye on these alliances, people, and report back if you learn something new, Wang Wei ordered. I will personally oversee their mission. No, your task is to keep an eye on the Qin dynasty. The human emperor is planning something, and I need to know as much information about his court as possible, Wang Wei said with a strict expression. Understood. Is there anything else? Yes. There has been trouble in the unions recently. Oh, it's about the human fiend god bloodline, Red Mask revealed. The heaven-opening paragon has refused to share the secrets of that bloodline with the other two primals. At first, this was an issue. After all, it's the Wang clan's property and they can do as they wish with it. However, after our clan started to focus on bloodline, and seeing the initial success, the others became suspicious that the Wang clan had secretly reunited. Wang Wei could not help laughing after hearing this. Who would have thought Wang Guo would have shot himself in the foot by stealing my idea? That's what you get, you lucky bastard. Wang Wei exhaled before putting the wine to the side. Has he denied it? Privately? Yes. However, they are still trying to keep things under wraps. These factions have spent countless years preventing the Wang clan unification. Not because we would have one more primals, but because unification represents a complete and perfect bloodline and destiny. However, some things are inevitable, but everyone knows that whoever of the clan can cultivate a transcendent sage will achieve this unification. No, he squinted while caressing his chin. They believe unification will increase the chances of cultivating a primordial chaos saint. I was wrong in my assessment that unification was not that important. Wang Wei had a gentle smile plastered on the corner of his mouth. This is excellent news, but how can I make full use of it? Should I use the chessboard on Wanghua? No, ideas are useless in this situation. The Union's primals are not stupid. No matter how they feel about the Wang clan, they will not allow the latter to escape their grasp. But what if the Wang clan had an additional primal? Such an idea might be preposterous to anyone else, but Wang Wei had a trump card. The nurture card. As long as he finds the right talent, he might be able to nurture them into a primal. No, Even finding the right talent does not guarantee success. The twins' success was a manifestation of their talent and Wu Hong's luck. So, until Grand Dao increases the world's primal destiny, allowing more people to achieve that title, this plan will not be as successful as Wang Wei wants. What about a flawed primal? Wang Wei thought. As long as this person has that level of strength, it doesn't matter if they have some other flaw. The flawed primal is the way forward, Wang Wei thought. He could use this idea for his plan toward the all-seeing temple and Grandma Ju. The union is already here, right? They arrived before us and are living in the royal district, Red Mask revealed. They are as snobbish as ever, Wang Wei sneered. Here is the plan. They'll visit Wanghua, and he'll probably refuse to see me. But as soon as I leave their compound, you need to slowly spread rumors about the Wang clan unification. Don't make it too obvious. Red Mask frowned. Lord, I don't mean to question you, but isn't it too obvious what you're doing? Everyone would think you're just fanning the flame. One flaw of smart people is they often overthink things. Wang Wei smiled. These people know I'm smart and wouldn't use such an obvious plot. Then, they will overthink, become suspicious, and come to a different conclusion. Our goal is to make things more difficult for Wanghua and slowly isolate him. This is just the first step. I understand. I'll prepare immediately. Red Mask nodded before disappearing into Wang Wei's shadow. All right, let's go see the ancestor. Wang Wei smiled. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1556. Political Games. Wang Wei stood before the Myriad Clan Union's mansion, calmly waiting. These people didn't even invite him inside and allowed him to wait in a separate room. Normally, such rude behavior was enough for Wang Wei to make a scene or cause a diplomatic issue. After all, he was a grand elder from the Dao opening sect. However, he remained calm and composed, waiting to be notified. Luckily, he did not have to wait long before a man dressed in green, with peak paragon cultivation from the Wang clan, came to see him. Wang Wei looked at this person, and with one glance, he saw through him. The latter had a seal on himself to hide the secrets of his bloodline, just like Wang Wei and the members of the sect. Unfortunately, that seal was useless in front of his existence observation technique. In the end, Qiyuan's path was the correct one, Wang Wei thought. The Wang clan's bloodline has long evolved from the innate demon god that Wang Gu infused in his body. After so many years of evolution and improvement, the bloodline can be said to be a unique one that belongs to the Wang clan. Unfortunately, it did not change the fact that the origin of this bloodline was foreign. Under normal circumstances, the fact that only 0.001% of this bloodline was foreign posed no issue, until Wang Gu stole Wang Wei's idea and wanted to elevate the Wang clan's human bloodline to be on par with fiend gods. Such a difference immediately complicated the entire process. If your blood is not completely human, how can you condense a human fiend god bloodline? Wang Wei could tell that the other Wang clan probably have many problems during the awakening process. What's more, the other clan did not seal their blood at birth, meaning failure to awaken occurred while in the womb. And that's just one of the many other issues. The rules of balance indicate that the more potent a bloodline, the harder it is for them to reproduce. By sealing the clan's bloodline and forcing everyone to experience a bloodline awakening, Wang Wei has successfully preserved the human's part of the bloodline for higher reproductivity. Meanwhile, Wang Gu's branch did differently. The rules of their unions encourage their members to have as many wives as possible to increase their chances of having children. They've created potions, arrays, and other means to increase the productivity of their clan members. The bloodline is called Human Fiend God, with the human part in front to show its importance. Meanwhile, it appeared Wang Gu only wanted an Fiend God bloodline disguised as a noble human bloodline. Now, I understand why Qiyuan separated from the other clan. The Wang clan's division might have started because of the fight over leaving imprints in the bloodline for others to revive. But the actual reason for the divide was a divide in ideology. Qiyuan believed the clan's obsession with bloodline was the wrong path, but Wang Gu thought it was the future. After so many years, It was apparent that Qiyuan's path was correct by how many primals they have and the fact a talent like Wang Wei was born into their clan. However, the most critical thing is Wang Wei's human fiend god bloodline was the perfect way to breach these two opposing ideologies. Grand Elder Wang Wei, the man bowed. Director Wang Xiang. Wang Wei nodded. The union had a system based on directors, secondary and tertiary directors, which was similar to sect master, grand elder, and elder. He had read the history of their union, and Wang Wei remembered director Wang Xiang. He was famous for convincing more than a dozen foreign bloodline clans to betray their worlds and join the union during the Second Origin War. I'm sorry to say, but the ancestor had an epiphany and entered seclusion, Wang Xiang said with a gentle smile. Really? Wang Wei asked. Your timing is sadly unfortunate, Wang Xiang continued. Is it possible for me to wait for him? I mean, he can't stay in retreat for long if the assembly is about to start. That is true, and under normal circumstances, we would welcome you with open arms, Wang Xiang continued. However, you heard what the Qin court said about a possible attack. Our union is currently on high alert to prevent anyone from disturbing the ancestors' retreat. You understand how rare epiphanies are at such a level. The last thing I want is to disturb the ancestors. Wang Wei smiled. In that case, I'll take my leave. But would you pass on a message for me? Wang Xi's lips twitched. He then asked with a fake smile. What would that be? Tell him I expect reciprocity for the gift I gave him, Wang Wei said. He could not have Wang Gua think he was trying to scheme against him. So Wang Wei must make his visit seem like he was acting out of pettiness because the latter had stolen his idea. This bastard, Wang Xiang cursed. He understood how much these words would cause, especially the word gift, which he guessed was used on purpose. He also knew he needed to say something, or who knows what would happen. Well, I'll take my leave. Thank you for the hospitality. I wish the ancestor success in his retreat, Wang Wei said before bowing in one fluid motion, and then turned around to walk away. I'm so glad their clan is not benefiting as much from my idea, Wang Wei sneered. He was still unhappy with how Wang Gua had utilized his powerful cultivation to discern his bloodline and steal his idea. The help he received at that time was insignificant in comparison. At some point of the unification, Wang Gua's branch must be trained to remove their pride, arrogance, and excessive reliance on their bloodline, Wang Wei thought. The groundwork has been set, and all he has to do is slowly isolate Wang Gua. The union is ruled by 3 clans, Wang, Xiao, and Yi. But the Yi clan is a soul clan, meaning they are the only non-human clans in the union with a primal. For many years, their clan has been suppressed and bullied by the Wang and Xiao clan, but now, with suspicions on Wang Gua, things will become interesting. The Xiao primal won't easily abandon the trust and rapport he's built with Wang Gua and make friends with the Yi clan. I need something to cause friction, Wang Wei thought. He first thought of the issue with the celestial race, but that has long been dealt with. The deal he had with Wang Gua was that the union would not punish the celestial race for their supposed betrayal, and from what Wang Wei knows, the issue was dealt not long after all the ancestors returned. Let's just wait and see. Maybe an opportunity will come. If not, he'll analyze their situation and manufacture one, Wang Wei thought. He stopped worrying about these things and focused on enjoying himself. Where should I go next? I heard Qin's red light district is famous for cultivating some of the world's best courtesans, Wang Wei thought. But I'm a soon-to-be married man with a scary wife. I can't just visit a brothel, can I? If he knew he could get away with it, he would have done it. After all, he wasn't going there to sleep with the women, but to experience and appreciate their beauties, and more importantly, their art. Damn it! Why does this woman have such a wrap around me? Wang Wei cursed. It was humiliating for a man whose pursuit is freedom not to do something because he's scared of his wife. He'll just do it. What can she do to me? As soon as he said these words, he felt a chill run down his spine. Let's not find out. Wang Wei had a pained look on his face. He really wanted to go. How about I ask her permission? Yes, that's a good idea, he thought before writing invisible characters in the air that turned into a talisman that disappeared in the void. He received a reply a few seconds later that said, The Qin's courtesans are indeed world-class, and it's been a while since I last heard one of their works. They'll be here soon so we can watch together, but record anything interesting in case I'm delayed. That's my girl. Wang Wei smiled. What's healthier than a couple enjoying a brothel together? I knew I chose the right woman. Wang Wei headed to the red light zone with a happy stride in his steps. He searched for the most famous one, leading him to a place called the Pure Art Blue Mansion. To Wang Wei's surprise, so many people were lining up to enter, and he was almost barred from entry until he showed his cultivation and status. Then, someone gave him a private room. He also learned about a legendary courtesan called the Butterfly Princess, who would share a piece for the first time since the Second Origin War. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Legend of the Vagabond YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.